The school's most popular guy, who was all looks and no brains, suddenly confessed his feelings to me. From that day on, the guy who used to skip class and get into fights seemed like a completely different person. We shared a kiss under the silk tree and made a pact to get into Peking University together. I pushed him to memorize vocabulary, tutored him during the holidays, and stayed up all night organizing notes for him. The first thing he did after getting accepted was dump me and go find that genius transfer student. Time to keep your promise and be with me, right? The transfer student sat on his lap and asked with a smile, "What about your little deskmate? She's nothing compared to you." Kissing her was like kissing a dead fish, disgusting. In a daze, I missed a step and tumbled down the stairs. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Zhou Nanchuan confessed his feelings. "I like you. Let's go to Peking University together." I tore his love letter to shreds. "Don't even dream about it. Peking University would find you repulsive." 1. The instant the door swung open, I was frozen to the spot. Just a second ago, the class monitor was still envious of me. Life imitates art. I can't believe the campus heartthrob actually got into Peking University for you. Does this mean you two can finally date openly now? At that moment, I saw Zhou Nanchuan pull the transfer student into his arms. "I've kept my promise and got into Peking University, just like you asked. Now it's your turn to keep yours and be with me, right? Say yes, say yes, say yes." Sis-in-law, give brother Chuan a break, will ya? With his level of smarts, getting into Peking University was a straight-up academic miracle. Yeah, sis-in-law, why don't you just go along with it? I think I'm starting to lose my grasp of the Chinese language. Zhou Nanchuan's good buddies had tried to persuade me in the same way, because he said he liked me and would get into Peking University for my sake. I saw the transfer student sitting on his lap, her arms around his neck. She turned her head and saw me standing in the doorway. She gave a smug smile, looked right at me on purpose, and said, "I don't have a problem with it, but what about your little deskmate?" Without even turning his head, Zhou Nanchuan kissed her slender neck. "She's nothing like you." Kissing her was like kissing a dead fish, utterly repulsive. Was he talking about that time we kissed under the silk tree? That was my first kiss. I remember he seemed to treasure it so much. His eyes even welled up with tears. Said that once we got into Peking University, they'd slowly teach me everything about love. But, why? My eyes welled up with tears as I stepped forward, one slow step at a time. "Zhou Nanchuan, what are you doing? Didn't you say you loved me? That you wanted to be with me forever? Stop this, both of you. If you keep going, I'm really going to get angry." I walked up to them. Zhou Nanchuan ignored me. They were locked in a passionate kiss. The class monitor couldn't stand to watch any longer. She came over, pulled me away, and said, "Come on, Tao Tao, let's go." Only then did Zhou Nanchuan release the transfer student, his head still buried in her embrace, and shot me a wicked grin. "Can't you see it yet, Ji Xingtao? Everything I told you before. Of course I was lying. Why on earth would I get into Peking University for you? Who do you think you are?" 2. I have no idea how I left the private room. I only remember picking up a glass of water from the table and throwing it in their faces. "Zhou Nanchuan, why don't you just drop dead?" The transfer student let out a shriek. The water stung her eyes, smudging her black eyeliner. "Ji Xingtao, are you insane? You got what you deserved for being so gullible. Who told you to be such a lovesick fool? Frankly, an idiot like you is an embarrassment to all of us girls." "Shut up, and you think being a homewrecker isn't embarrassing?" The class monitor scolded her harshly and pulled me out of the room. I don't know what I did wrong. Why is it that Zhou Nanchuan, who promised to be with me forever before the exam, became a completely different person afterwards? Something must have gone wrong. I must not have done well enough. It must be Peach. Look out. My mind was in turmoil, and I wasn't watching where I was going. By the time I heard the class monitor scream, I had already tumbled down the stairs and into darkness. I drifted out of consciousness without ever catching a glimpse of Zhou Nanchuan. He never came out to look for me. 3. I like you. Let's go to Peking University together. Cat got your tongue. Or are you just speechless with joy? Ji Xingtao, I hereby declare that from this moment on, you are my girlfriend. What are you all standing around for? Say hello to your sister-in-law. Amidst the chorus of booming sister-in-law greetings, my senses slowly returned to me. Standing before me was the 18-year-old Zhou Nanchuan. A mischievous smile played on his lips as he looked at me, holding a bouquet of roses. It's strange, in my past life, how did I fail to see the contempt in his eyes? Back then, I was overjoyed, thinking a fairy tale had come true, but I never could have imagined This was a deception potent enough to ruin me. Recalling the suffering from my past life, a sharp pain in my chest stole my breath. Move it, you're in the way. Zhou Nanchuan seized my wrist. He probably hadn't expected me to refuse him and cause him to lose face. He frowned and said, Ji Xingtao, don't be ungrateful, everyone knows you have a crush on me. I shook off his hand and said, Zhou Nanchuan, don't be so full of yourself. I've never liked you, Ji Xingtao, that's enough. Don't you dare start any drama. He shoved the bouquet of roses into my arms. I choked and sneezed, snatching it from him. The thorns on the stem pricked my hand, and blood welled up. Zhou Nanchuan was stunned for a moment. Ignoring all that, I pointed at the pink envelope in his hand and asked, Is this for me? Yes. A triumphant look once again settled on his face. That's more like it. Know when to quit while you're ahead. I can't stand women who are too high maintenance. Amidst his smug laughter, I tore the love letter to shreds, hearing gasps of shock rise around me. Is she out of her mind? She's only the second woman who's ever dared to treat Brother Chuan like that. Who's the first one? Who do you think? The real Mrs. Of course, I pretended not to hear their whispers, looked at Zhou Nanchuan, and sneered. What did you just say? You want to get into Peking University with me, is that it? He parted his lips to speak, but I cut him off with a laugh. Who do you think you are? You think you're good enough to go to Peking University with me? Don't kid yourself. Peking University would find you repulsive. 4. Zhou Nanchuan's pursuit of me has become increasingly intense. However, his methods are rather unorthodox. For instance, during morning runs, he'd have his buddies surround me and call me sister-in-law. Or, during an exam, he'd deliberately toss a crumpled note my way, getting me scolded by the teacher. For example, he'd toss a homework assignment at me and say, Do this for me. I'd finally snap, look up, and ask, What's wrong with you? Are your hands broken? Or is your brain missing? Can't you even copy it yourself? He'd just laugh and say, Come on, sweetheart, isn't it your job to help your husband with his homework? In my past life, he also used to call me sweetheart and refer to himself as my husband. I would blush every single time. Looking back, I was such a lovesick fool. I threw the homework onto his desk and said, I'm not your sweetheart. He threw it right back at me. With all the back and forth, my water cup got knocked over and nearly soaked my notebook. I was getting annoyed and asked, I'm asking you one last time, are you sure you won't write it yourself? What's wrong, sweetie? Finally willing to help me write it. That's more like it, good girl. He raised his hand, wanting to ruffle my hair. I slapped Zhou Nanchuan's hand away and, under his astonished gaze, tore his homework notebook to shreds. If you're not going to write it, then forget about it. Can you leave me alone now? Zhou Nanchuan was furious. Ji Xingtao, he said, don't think for a second I won't hit a woman. His buddy grabbed his arm and whispered in his ear, Chuan Ji. The class monitor from class 2 is here to see your girl again. The girl he was referring to was, of course, their actual sister-in-law, Tao Shiran, the genius transfer student. The moment she arrived, she snatched the top spot in our grade right out from under me. Unlike me, who's been grinding myself into the ground, Tao Shiran doesn't seem to care about grades at all. She sleeps through most of her classes, never attends evening self-study, wears makeup to school. And I've even seen her smoking in a corner of the sports field. She was never what you'd call a model student, yet, she could effortlessly take everything I had worked so hard for. Her uniqueness quickly caught Zhou Nanchuan's attention. The thing is, she never gave Zhou Nanchuan a second thought. To turn Zhou Nanchuan down, Tao Shiran blew a long, slow smoke ring and set a condition he could never possibly meet. Sure, get into Peking University, and I'll agree to be your girlfriend. 5. Zhou Nanchuan would never, ever get into Peking University, so, he set his sights on me. He was always clever, just had a shaky foundation. In our past life, he used me for tutoring and smoothly got into Peking University, and I became nothing but a pawn in their little game. In my past life, I was the fool, but this time, I'm absolutely not going to let them have their way. The first step is to make Zhou Nanchuan give up his delusions and stop trying to use me, because of his constant interruptions. I can't memorize vocabulary during my morning run, and I can't even catch a nap between classes. He's just so incredibly annoying. Following Zhou Nanchuan's lead, I also went to the small garden behind the cafeteria. I remember this fight. The class monitor of class 2 confessed to Tao Shiran. Zhou Nanchuan went berserk, pinned him to the ground, and beat him so hard he knocked out one of his front teeth. In my past life, I clung desperately to Zhou Nanchuan's waist, sobbing as I begged him, don't go. Didn't you say you loved me? Why are you still meddling in other people's business? He shoved me away and roared, Ran isn't other people. If she hadn't helped me back then, I would have been cut down. Now that she's in trouble, how can I just stand by? Ji Xingtao. I refused to be an ungrateful bastard. I knelt on the ground, watching Zhou Nanchuan's resolute figure retreat into the distance. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Tao Shiran was just handed a love letter. How did that turn into a crisis? It wasn't until much later that I found out the truth. Zhou Nanchuan had agreed to a fight. He went alone, only to find over a dozen guys waiting for him, one of them armed with a machete. It was Tao Shiran who dragged Zhou Nanchuan into the police station. That's the only reason he walked away without a scratch. That was the moment he fell completely in love with her. In my previous life, I never found out what Tao Shiran said to the class monitor of class 2. Surprisingly, he didn't report it to the teacher. He told everyone he'd simply tripped and knocked out his front tooth, and the matter was quietly dropped. This time, I came prepared with a phone ready to record. I will definitely drive Zhou Nanchuan away from me. 6. By the time I arrived, it was already too late. Zhou Nanchuan grabbed the class monitor of class 2 by the collar and pinned him to the ground. Say it again. Who do you like? Tao Shiran. I like you. The class 2 monitor was a stubborn one, too. Even now, he still had the nerve to confess to Tao Shiran. Zhou Nanchuan, provoked by him, threw punch after punch, each fiercer than the last, until the class 2 monitor was coughing up blood. Alright, brother Chuan, that's enough. Don't take it too far. Yeah, sis-in-law, you should talk some sense into him. Tao Shiran stood silently to the side, quietly smoking a cigarette. Zhou Nanchuan, worn out from the beating, lit a cigarette for himself. Tao Shiran walked over and lit it for him. The smoke swirled thickly, and the class monitor of class 2 was choked into a fit of coughing. Zhou Nanchuan pinned him to the ground. The glowing cigarette tip hovered near his eyelashes as Zhou Nanchuan issued a menacing threat. I'm giving you one last chance. Just tell me straight, who do you like? Zhou Nanchuan has completely lost it. Knowing him, if the class 2 monitor says one wrong word, he'll stab that cigarette right in his eye. Emotion got the better of reason. I stepped out and said, Zhou Nanchuan, are you quite finished with your little scene? Zhou Nanchuan's back stiffened. He turned his head, raised an eyebrow, and asked, what are you doing here, brother Chuan? She probably regrets it and wants to be your girlfriend again. Huh, playing both sides. And now she really thinks she's the official missus. Does she really think she can tell you what to do? Tao Shiran took a drag of her cigarette, her face cold as she watched the two of us. Zhou Nanchuan stood up and said to me, Ji Xingtao, don't meddle, our business is none of your concern, you're overthinking it. I pointed to the broom in the corner and said, it's my turn on duty today, I need to clean here, and you're in the way. Oh, so she wasn't here for you after all. Looks like you were reading too much into it, Chuan. Under their provocative stares, I kept my eyes fixed straight ahead and walked directly to the corner. Zhou Nanchuan stubbed out his cigarette, flicking the butt carelessly onto the ground. His jaw tightened as he fixed a cold stare on me. His words clipped, that's for the best. Ran, let's go. 7. I took the evidence to the teacher. With both witnesses and physical proof, I was sure the school would expel Zhou Nanchuan. But I still underestimated the Zhou family's influence. I was a fool. I thought it was just a few words from Tao Shiran that had talked the class 2 monitor down. It never crossed my mind that the Zhou family had such formidable, far-reaching influence. The teacher confiscated my phone and gave me a warning. The biology competition is coming up, Xingtao. Focus on your preparation and stop getting distracted by these trivial matters. The competition, if the teacher hadn't mentioned it, I would have almost forgotten. In my past life, I missed the competition to take care of Zhou Nanchuan, who had a fever. In that competition, Tao Shiran won the gold medal and secured a direct admission spot to Tsinghua University. You know, in our past life, Zhou Nanchuan only got hurt because he was trying to save me. It just so happened that the day before my competition, his wound got infected and his fever spiked to 40 degrees. I took him to the hospital for N4. He was delirious with fever and clutched my hand tightly, saying, don't go, darling, please don't leave me. My heart just broke for him. I gave up the chance to compete. Thinking back on it now, it all seems a bit suspicious. I'm a mild-mannered person, focused solely on my studies. How could I have suddenly crossed paths with troublemakers from outside the school? Could it be that? A suspicion began to form in my mind. By my reckoning, that day is almost here. 8. I've lost all my notes. I know it was Zhou Nanchuan. He left me a note. Want your notebook back? Meet me in the back alley after school. There was also a signature. which I thought was rather dashing. Zhou Nanchuan. I picked up the note from the table, lifted my gaze, and glanced in Zhou Nanchuan's direction. I saw him resting his chin in his hand, giving a slow, lazy blink, and shooting me a mischievous grin. In my past life, he simply wrote after school, "Come to the back alley," and I, like a fool, went running over there. That's where I ran into a few troublemakers looking to pick a fight with me. They cornered me, yanked my long hair, and tore off my school uniform. I was sobbing and begging for mercy, tears streaming down my face. If Zhou Nanchuan hadn't played the hero and saved the damsel in distress, I would have been in a world of hurt. But looking back now, that whole hero saving the beauty act was probably just a charade they put on together, all to stop me from entering the competition, in this life. I never became his girlfriend, so Zhou Nanchuan had to resort to threatening me with my own notes. How ridiculous. Once I get my guaranteed admission to Tsinghua, what use would I have for study notes? I tore the note in half. All that remained was Zhou Nanchuan's signature and that one line, "Meet me in the back alley after school." I slipped that half-torn note into the pocket of Tao Shiran's jacket, which was lying on the table. After school, I followed her to the back alley. I had seen it all along. Despite her act, Tao Shiran wasn't as indifferent to Zhou Nanchuan as she made out to be. Otherwise, she wouldn't have ended up just like I did in my past life. She came obediently, just from seeing a single note. 9. The back alley was completely empty. Tao Shiran wasn't in any hurry. He lit a cigarette and took a slow, leisurely drag. Before he could finish it, a group of delinquents appeared from the street corner. I recognized them. They were the same ones who had grabbed at my school uniform in my past life. They sauntered over. Tao Shiran lifted her gaze through the haze of the smoke-filled room, her eyes sweeping over them with a cold indifference. The red-haired leader at the front faltered, saying, "Sister Ran, what are you doing here?" Tao Shiran frowned slightly and asked, "Why can't I be here? This is my school, you know. I was about to ask you guys the same thing. I called you to game, and you all bailed. Saying you were busy. What are you doing hanging around here?" Redhead scratched his head awkwardly. "Well, this is awkward. If we'd known it was you we were meeting today, we wouldn't have gone to all this trouble." Sensing something was off, Tao Shiran tossed his cigarette aside. "Cut the crap. What are you guys really up to?" I turned on the camera. I pressed the record button. "I borrowed this from the class monitor. For next week's basketball game." She brought a camera from home to take pictures for all of us. The camera captured Redhead's entire plan in perfect detail, including their scheme to fake an attack on me. Zhou Nanchuan swooping in like a hero to save the damsel in distress. I was so moved, I fell head over heels and decided to pledge myself to him. After hearing Redhead's words, Tao Shiran furrowed his brow and rubbed his temples. "Whose idea was this? Are you all so sure she'll fall for the trap?" Red nodded. "Brother Chuan said that girl's been crushing on him for ages. If he just crooks his finger, she'll come wagging her tail like a bitch in heat." My hands, holding the camera, trembled. A bitch. I never imagined that Zhou Nanchuan thought of me that way. How filthy. Tao Shiran sneered. "If it's really as he says, then why are you all making such a big fuss over nothing? What, has Zhou Nanchuan still not given up on that bookworm?" "Sister Ran, you've got Brother Chuan all wrong about this." "That's right, Sis Ran. Brother Chuan did all of this for you." "For me." The redhead's lackey nodded and said, "Brother Chuan was trying to stall that bookworm so she couldn't compete in the contest." "Sis Ran, isn't that all for your sake?" Tao Shiran froze for a moment, then burst out laughing as if she'd just heard the funniest joke. "So, what's Zhou Nanchuan getting at? Does he really think I can't outscore that bookworm?" Just then, Zhou Nanchuan arrived, seeing Tao Shiran standing there. He froze for a second, hearing her assumption. He quickly jogged over to explain, "No, Ran, you got it all wrong. How could I ever think you wouldn't do better than her? Then what's the meaning of all this?" The usually stern Zhou Nanchuan was now at a complete loss for words. His eyes panicked like a child who had done something wrong. Tao Shiran broke free from his arms and said coldly, "Zhou Nanchuan, don't be so presumptuous. My affairs are none of your business." 10. Zhou Nanchuan completely lost it. During evening self-study, he dragged me out of the classroom. I clung desperately to the desk and said, "I'm not going." "Zhou Nanchuan, all these classmates are watching. Are you really going to bully me right here?" Zhou Nanchuan raised his head and scanned the room. The students who had dared to peek up quickly lowered their heads, pretending to be busy with their work. His voice was measured, loud enough for everyone to hear and potent enough to instill fear. If you don't want to be expelled, keep your noses out of it. You didn't see a thing, understand?" No one responded. I'm feeling pretty desperate. The biology competition is the day after tomorrow, and I have no idea what Zhou Nanchuan is trying to pull. Ah, Zhou Nanchuan yanked me down, chair and all. His lackeys swarmed around, pinning my flailing limbs to the ground. I tried to kick them off, but I wasn't strong enough. Instead, they locked my legs in place. Before I knew it, the back of my head had hit the floor, the pain sharp enough to bring tears to my eyes. Zhou Nanchuan grabbed me by the hood of my sweatshirt and dragged me toward the back door of the classroom. The class monitor stood up, her voice trembling as she asked him, "WH, what are you doing? WH, where are you taking her?" Zhou Nanchuan shot her a glance and said coldly, "Did you not understand a single word I just said?" With tears welling in my eyes, I shook my head at the class monitor, but the class monitor, mustering courage from somewhere, said, "Zhou Nanchuan, let her go. Don't think I won't go tell the teacher right now. Go ahead, then." "Yeah. As if our brother Chuan would be scared of a teacher. Go ahead then. Let's see who goes first, you getting expelled, or this nerd kicking the bucket." Seizing the moment they were distracted mocking the class monitor, I kicked their legs out from under them. In one swift motion, I yanked off my hoodie, broke free from Zhou Nanchuan's grip, and stood up. I was only wearing a white tee, and a chill ran through me, goosebumps covering my arms. I hugged myself and met his furious gaze. "Zhou Nanchuan, if you have something to say it here. I'm not going anywhere with you. Enough already." Tao Shiran suddenly flipped over the desk. The classmates were startled with a jolt. "If you want to fool around, take it outside. Don't disturb our evening self-study." How ridiculous. Tao Shiran had never attended a single evening self-study session. What's with the good student act, showing up here today? Her fury instantly deflated Zhou Nanchuan. He threw my hoodie to the ground and wiped his hands with a look of utter disgust. "Ji Xingtao. Just you wait. I'm not letting you get away with this." I picked up the hoodie from the floor and threw it into the trash can at the back of the classroom. "Whatever. Don't touch my things again. They're filthy." 11. The biology competition is tomorrow. I've decided to take leave and go home. I'm leaving right after evening self-study to steer clear of this whole mess. Zhou Nanchuan was absent from class all day today, but I still didn't dare let my guard down. Who knows if he's lurking in the shadows, up to no good. During P.E. class, the teacher asked me to return the basketballs for the whole class. I called over the class monitor and asked if she could come with me. "I really need to pee. Can you wait for me to get back?" "Never mind." I shook my head. "You go ahead. I'll just drop off the basketball and head home." "You're not going to evening study?" "Nope. I got permission to skip it." "All right." The class monitor held her stomach and waved at me. "Good luck tomorrow. I'll be waiting for your good news." I smiled at her, turned around, and wheeled the cart full of basketballs into the storage room, playing it safe. I didn't close the door and pushed the cart into an empty corner of the storage room. Just then, I suddenly heard the screech of a door being pulled open. My heart sank, and I rushed to the main entrance. I ran too hard, slamming my hip into the basketball hoop, but I was still a step too late. The warehouse door had been locked. I desperately pounded on the door and cried for help, hoping someone would hear me, but deep down, I knew it was hopeless. Evening self-study was about to start. No one would be coming over here. I was so close. Just one more step, I could have gone home. My back against the warehouse door, I slid to the floor and hugged myself tightly. In this life, am I really doomed to just sit here and wait for death? Scenes from my past life flashed before my eyes. I skipped the competition. My teacher was utterly disappointed in me, and my mother was so angry with me that she ran a high fever. But back then, my heart was only filled with Zhou Nanchuan, who had stood up for me. I even confronted them, asking, "Am I even your daughter? In your eyes, am I just a study machine?" My relationship with them deteriorated further. Zhou Nanchuan, as my boyfriend, even encouraged me to cut ties with my parents and teachers. "Even if the whole world is against you, I'll stand behind you and fight it all." Such an unconventional vow, yet, it moved me to tears back then. I was completely devoted to him, even sacrificing my own free time to tutor him. Sometimes when he got frustrated, he'd even throw a notebook and snap at me. On worse occasions, he'd throw me onto the bed, leaving me bruised and battered. I didn't feel sad at all. I just saw it as his way of showing love. Even though he was clearly suffering so much, he was still willing to try for Peking University, all for my sake. What a hopeless, lovesick fool. I don't even want to think about the past anymore. I've put up with this for so long. We've been at each other's throats for so long. Do I really have to give up? No, I absolutely cannot give up. I wiped the tears from my face, lifted my head, and surveyed my surroundings. The warehouse has no windows, climbing out is impossible. My phone was confiscated, and I can't call for help. My only hope now is the basketball team, which hasn't finished practice yet. I'm hoping that when their practice ends, they'll come here to return the basketballs. It's a long shot. They usually lock the basketball hoops up in the gymnasium, but at this point, there's nothing left to do but give it a shot. The warehouse was pitch black, without a single light, and bitterly cold. I soon started shivering from the cold, pulling my coat tighter around me. I have no idea how long I waited. I drifted off and even fell asleep. I don't know what time I woke up, but I'm sure the basketball team has already finished practice. My last chance was gone. 12. I've never been a brave person. In my past life, I was always diligent in my studies and never did anything out of line. Perhaps that's precisely why I was drawn to a bad boy like Zhou Nanchuan. He was the complete opposite of me in every way. It was this very difference that drew me into his world, making me want to understand him and grow to like him. I was too young back then, wearing my rebellion like a badge of honor, desperate to be the center of attention. Given a second chance at life, I finally understand that the true badge of honor isn't found in smoking, drinking, fighting, or tattoos. It's the discipline that goes against our very nature, the day in, day out, down-to-earth grind and relentless pursuit of a dream. But now, at this very moment, I've finally decided to do something outrageous, something I've never done in 2 lifetimes. I was in the corner of the warehouse, my fingers closed around a lighter. Warehouse area, no open flames. Some truant must have come here for a smoke and left this behind. I flicked the lighter on, and in the glow of the red flame, I saw the lighter clearly for the first time. A black Zippo lighter. It was stamped with a ferocious-looking Z. It was glaringly obvious. What a coincidence. This was precisely Zhou Nanchuan's lighter. Perhaps this is fate. He locked me in here, and I will use his lighter to escape. I set the warehouse on fire. The smoke alarm finally went off. Just as I was about to choke to death, I let out a long sigh, watching the basketball, volleyball, and soccer ball being consumed by the flames. I'm sorry, but I had no other choice. The flames climbed higher and higher. The warehouse door was forced open, and soon someone spotted me. Oh my God, over here, there's still a student in here. I was helped out by 2 security guards. Thankfully, the smoke detectors worked. The fire was small and was quickly put out. The students who had just finished evening self-study all gathered around. The class monitor saw me, ran over, and exclaimed, "Oh my God, Tao Tao, are you okay? I thought you went home. What are you doing here?" The security guard asked me, "Kid, are you alright? How did you get in there? Did you start the fire?" Amidst the crowd, I spotted Zhou Nanchuan the instant I looked up. His cold, sharp black eyes were fixed intently on me. I met his gaze and said, "Yes, someone locked me in." 13. This whole thing blew up. Officers from the local police station arrived. The school called in my parents. I handed over the lighter. The principal recognized it immediately as Zhou Nanchuan's lighter. Fearing the situation would escalate, he quickly explained to the police, "The students are young and don't know any better. It's our fault for not supervising them properly. We're so sorry for the trouble this has caused." My mother was furious, pointing at the principal. She yelled, "Who are you calling young and don't know any better? How do you people look after the kids here?" My daughter was locked in that storage room for who knows how long, and not a single teacher noticed. If she hadn't lit a fire to get help, would you have even found her before gym class on Monday? Would she have starved to death in there? My father got worked up too, adding, "Exactly, this needs a full investigation. We need to know who locked my daughter in there. We demand answers. Doesn't your school have surveillance cameras? Pull the footage and check." "Yes, check the security footage. Get to the bottom of this." The principal's forehead broke out in a sweat. "My guess is they've already checked the footage. The very fact that we checked the surveillance footage is why we can't afford to make a big deal out of this, because the person who locked me in was definitely one of Zhou Nanchuan's lackeys." Sure enough, the principal wiped the sweat from his brow and said to my parents, "The surveillance system was down. It didn't record anything. I know you're upset, but rest assured, whatever compensation you request, we can discuss it. We can work something out." This only made my mother angrier. "What are you implying? Do you think we're after your money? All we want is the truth. The truth. The surveillance camera is broken, and you're not rushing to fix it. What if something else happens?" They were arguing fiercely. I took the class monitor's camera out of my pocket. Just now, after seeing her, I waited for the crowd to disperse and then asked to borrow her camera. Officer, I need to report a crime. What? The principal looked at me in horror. I need to find out who locked me in. Here is the evidence I recorded earlier. Please take a look. Under the principal's gaze, filled with despair and terror, I handed the camera to the police. 14. Escorted by my parents, I entered the examination hall without incident. This time, the one who didn't show up was Tao Shiran. The police got involved in the matter, the principal's lies fell apart on their own, and Zhou Nanchuan's spineless lackey quickly ratted them out. Right now, the two of them are probably at the police station, being questioned by the officers. The bad news is, the Zhou family's influence has already spread to the police department. They were only locked up for 14 days before being let out as if nothing had happened. Still, that's good enough for me. At the very least, they know I'm not someone to be messed with and won't dare bother me again. After Zhou Nanchuan returned to school, he glared at me coldly without saying a word. But I was no longer the helpless little lamb he could push around. I reached out my hand to him and said, "Give me back my notes. You don't want to get locked up for another 14 days for theft, do you?" Zhou Nanchuan wanted to hit me. I lifted my face towards him and said, "Go ahead, hit me. I'll call the police as soon as you're done. There are plenty of cameras here anyway, you won't get away." Reluctantly, he could only lower his hand. Clenching his fist tightly as he cursed under his breath, he rummaged in his backpack, pulled out my notebook, and threw it onto my desk. I smiled and said, "I didn't realize you liked my notes so much that you carry them with you every day." Without a word, Zhou Nanchuan turned and walked out of the classroom. I gave my notes to the class monitor. She was pleasantly surprised and asked me, "If you give them to me, what will you do?" I shrugged and said, "Who knows? Maybe I'll win a gold medal and get a direct admission to Tsinghua University." She stared at me blankly and said, "Really, Tao Tao, you're amazing." I smiled, gave her nose a gentle pinch, and said, "I was just kidding. Since I'm giving it to you, just take it. Come on, let's both work hard and get into universities in Beijing." There were only 100 days left until the college entrance exam. Before the competition results came out, I didn't dare slack off. I studied like crazy at school every day, from morning till night. I even timed my bathroom breaks between classes. My hectic study schedule quickly pushed thoughts of Zhou Nanchuan and Tao Shiran to the back of my mind. After that day, Zhou Nanchuan and Tao Shiran never showed up at school again. Plenty of gossip about them was circulating in our class. They skipped class to play games at an internet cafe and ended up winning the championship in the Cafe's esports tournament. Overnight, they became one of the gaming world's top power couples, attracting a whole new wave of fans. After Zhou Nanchuan got his driver's license, his family bought him a red sports car. He would take Tao Shiran out for joyrides every day, racing around the city. I even saw them once at the school gate. A flashy red car roared past right in front of me, splashing muddy water everywhere and staining my white school uniform. The class monitor took my hand and asked, "Tao Tao, are you okay?" I shook my head and said, "It's just a little dirt, I'll wash it off later." 15. The basketball game, which should have been held, was postponed for 3 months due to a warehouse fire. On the day of the rescheduled game, Zhou Nanchuan returned. In his previous life, it was at a basketball game where he stole the show. In this life, he was just as conspicuous. He arrived late on purpose. At the moment when our team was trailing by a huge margin, he walked onto the court wearing a red jersey, with Tao Shiran in his arms. "Zhou Nanchuan is here. Thank goodness, we're saved now that he's here." The students rushed forward in a crowd. Suddenly, I remembered my past life. In my past life, he entered just like this, holding Tao Shiran. Even though I was his girlfriend, I could never stand by his side. At that moment, Tao Shiran stood beside me and said coldly, "So what if you're his girlfriend?" In his heart, "It's still only me." I shot back, "No matter what, there's only one person who is his girlfriend, and that's me, in name only." After the match, feeling wronged, I went and made a huge scene with Zhou Nanchuan. He frowned deeply and said, "We just happened to run into each other. Ji Xingtao, can you please stop being so dramatic?" 16. And now, surrounded by the crowd, Zhou Nanchuan turned his head and smiled tenderly at Tao Shiran. "Give me a kiss, my lucky goddess." Tao Shiran shot him a look and said, "How boring." She turned to leave, but Zhou Nanchuan wrapped an arm around her waist and kissed her lips. The crowd erupted in a sharp, piercing shriek. The class monitor snorted coldly and said, "Just playing to the gallery." I chuckled and said, "You read my mind." Zhou Nanchuan took the stage. He's a great player, holding his own against the varsity team. On top of that, with his hot temper and considerable influence, nobody dared to guard him for real. Right off the bat, he sank 3 3-pointers in a row, nearly tying the game. I'm not interested in his showboating. I wasn't really paying close attention either. To my surprise, Tao Shiran actually came over to me on her own. If you accept his confession, all the attention today would be yours. I didn't say a word. She asked me again, I've taken everything from you, don't you hate me at all? And here I was, thinking she was a carefree genius. Turns out she's just as much of a foolish, lovesick fool as I was in my past life. I have to say, I admire you, I told her. At a time like this, and you still have the energy for petty rivalry. If I were you, I'd be seriously wondering if I could even get into university after falling so far behind. Tao Shiran was stunned for a second, then let out a laugh, identical to the one she'd given in the back alley that day. So that's why you stole my competition spot. You were afraid I'd outperform you and snatch your guaranteed admission. How can someone be so good at playing the victim? I shook my head and said, you're overthinking it. I never had any intention of taking your competition spot. Looking into her beautiful almond-shaped eyes, I enunciated each word slowly and deliberately. You're not even in my league. Tao Shiran was infuriated by my words. That's easy for you to say. Then why did you call the police? Why did you have me locked up? Hey, weren't you the ones who locked me up first? I said calmly with a smile. Those who harm others will inevitably be harmed in return. If you hadn't tried to harm me first, how could I have outsmarted you? Ji Xingtao, you planned this all along. Of course, tit for tat. I'm definitely going to make them taste it, the bitter taste of a missed opportunity. Tao Shiran couldn't hold back. She was a hot-tempered little troublemaker to begin with, and my provocation was the last straw. She raised her hand to hit me. I saw it coming. I caught her raised hand and held it in a firm grip. She was immobilized, reduced to a helpless, seething rage as she glared at me. Still smiling, I said to her, Tao Shiran, a word of advice, stop trying to compete with me over men. I'm not like you. I have no interest in men from the trash heap. 17. This part, history remains unchanged. We won the basketball game. Zhou Nanchuan rushed off the stage, scooped up Tao Shiran, and spun her around and around. Under the gaze of everyone, he was ecstatic, shouting, Tao Shiran, I love you. Will you be my girlfriend? Tao Shiran was stunned. Her first instinct was to look up, searching for my figure in the crowd. I stood in the corner, watching her coldly. A triumphant smile spread across her face as she declared, all right then, Zhou Nanchuan, I will be your girlfriend. I joined the crowd, clapping and cheering for them. This time, I meant it. After all, a match made in hell. After the break, the competition results were announced. As expected, I won the gold medal and secured my admission to Tsinghua University. My parents wept with joy, and I cried too. In this life, the hardship has finally paid off. I gave all my notes and error correction workbooks to the class monitor, and tutored her just as I had helped Zhou Nanchuan in my previous life. With my help, she was also successfully admitted to a university in Beijing. The day the results came out, she hugged me and cried, Peach, I truly don't know how to thank you. In my next life, I'll repay you 1,000 times over. I shook my head and hugged her back. It was I who should be thanking her. In my past life, she was the only one who was genuinely good to me, and she stayed by my side right until the very end. Oh, by the way, did you know, Tao Shiran didn't show up for the college entrance exam? That's something I didn't expect. She's such a good student and so driven. How could she skip the exam? Why, the class monitor whispered in my ear, she was pregnant. She had to have a procedure right around the college entrance exams, so she missed them. But, she pursed her lips and said, I heard she's already engaged to Zhou Nanchuan. Once she marries into that wealthy family, she can just be a rich housewife. I guess taking the exams doesn't really matter anymore. Is that so? I don't see it that way. Being a full-time housewife in a wealthy family is no walk in the park. Loss of financial independence, loss of social standing, loss of social connections. Could Tao Shiran, a woman who could only live by clinging to her husband, still hold on to Zhou Nanchuan's heart? On the day they got married, they sent me an invitation. I had no time or inclination to attend their wedding. I had enrolled early and joined a project team at Tsinghua University, and was swamped with work. In the following years, I smoothly progressed to graduate school, earned my doctorate, and entered a national research institute where my work was classified. I heard from them again. It was at a class reunion. By then, I was no longer the bookish high school kid who did nothing but study. Tao's not like the rest of us now. she's working for the state. Seriously, who would have thought? I actually have a classmate who's a scientist now. Absolutely, Tao. You can't forget about us old classmates. We should definitely meet up more often. Our class president is amazing too, a CEO. She must be making millions a year. Oh my god, if only I'd hung out with Tao back in school, maybe I wouldn't still be stuck as a lowly office worker. Honestly, it's a good thing Tao was smart and didn't become that campus heartthrob Zhou's girlfriend, otherwise, she'd never have achieved what she has today. He was mentioned, the conversation noticeably faltered. The old classmate smiled apologetically and said, my mistake, I'll drink to that as a penalty. Bottoms up, why on earth did you have to bring him up? What a downer. I shook my head and said, it's nothing. There's no bad blood between us, so why shouldn't I mention him? See, that's what I'm talking about. Our Tao is so gracious. In their telling of the story, I found out about Zhou Nanchuan's recent situation. Just a few years after graduation, he went to prison for drunk driving. After he got out, the Zhou family went bankrupt. A freeloader who's always relied on his family, and with a criminal record to boot, how could he possibly land a decent job? Tao Shiran was pregnant, he got drunk, became violent at home, and ended up causing her to lose their child. Tao Shiran had 2 miscarriages, and the doctor said she could never get pregnant again. Zhou's mother couldn't take the shock and suffered a stroke. To pay for his mother's treatment, Zhou Nanchuan had no choice but to start loan sharking for a local crime boss. He was soon back behind bars. It seems he was just released a couple of days ago. Tao Shiran ran off with another man long ago, and who knows where she is now. 18. After the class reunion, I soon put the whole business with them out of my mind. On my way home from work that day, someone was handing out flyers on the street. I waved my hand and said, no, thank you, I don't need any. I could sense the person freeze for a second before calling out my name, Tao, Jixing Tao. I looked up and froze. The man standing before me was Zhou Nanchuan. The cold, aloof pride of his youth was long gone, replaced by an exhaustion that seeped from his very bones. The weariness of a man defeated by reality. He wore a yellow gym vest. His hairline had receded drastically from his younger days. He looked utterly worn out, with deep nasolabial folds and dark circles under his eyes. He appeared at least a decade older than me. We just ducked into a random cafe by the roadside. I ordered an iced Americano. Zhou Nanchuan studied the menu for the longest time, then looked up and gave me an awkward smile. He told the server, just a glass of water for me. Please, I'm not really used to coffee, he explained to me. I nodded. Not saying a word, we locked eyes, unable to utter a single word. I looked at him, still unable to believe this was the same charismatic heartthrob from high school. I never expected to run into you here. What a coincidence. Peach, how have you been all these years? A rather dull opening line. I nodded and said, not too bad. I heard you're a scientist now. Congratulations, your dream finally came true. I tilted my head slightly, not quite catching what he was saying. Back in our first year of high school, the teacher assigned an essay on dreams. I remember you wrote that you wanted to be someone useful to the country. Oh, it's been so long, I'd completely forgotten about that. I can't believe he remembered. I gave a polite smile and said nothing. Zhou Nanchuan took a sip of his lemon water and said, you know, I often have this dream. He looked up at me and said, in the dream, we were still in our final year of high school. You were my girlfriend. With your help, I got into Peking University, and so did you. We studied together at PKU, fell in love, got married. Was it us, or was it you and Tao Shiran? I couldn't take it anymore and cut him off. His face quickly flushed with the embarrassment of being caught in a lie. He touched his nose and said, I'm sorry, Tao. All these years, I've always owed you an apology. I shook my head, cutting him off once more. I've forgotten all about the past, if there's nothing else. I finished my coffee and should be going. Tao. Zhou Nanchuan called out to me again. I paused mid-step as I heard him let out a sigh. I wish you happiness. May all your dreams come true. Always. Thank you. I quickened my pace and didn't look back. 19. 1 year later, the class monitor told me she heard some gossip, and it was about Tao Shiran. She had infiltrated student chat groups, luring students to sell their eggs for extra cash. Later, the operation was shut down, and she was sent to prison. The police officer who raided that den, he's the guy our class monitor wanted to set me up with. So, what do you think? It's fate, right? Want to meet him? I chuckled and said, sure, why not? If he's got an 8-pack, I might just give him a chance. That night, I received a friend request. I accepted it instantly. The message read, "You there, wanna see some abs?" He replied with a question mark. "No." "Let's move on to the next one then." He instantly sent a picture, then withdrew it. I was quick on the draw and saved it, perhaps, and so my love story began, or maybe not. Extra, 16 years old, first year of high school. Zhou Nanchuan rarely showed up for class, 2 consecutive composition classes in the afternoon. The teacher asked the students with outstanding essays to come to the front and read their work aloud. Zhou Nanchuan was woken up by her. He opened his bleary eyes and saw a girl in a school uniform, standing obediently at the lectern. "My dream is to become someone useful to my country." Zhou Nanchuan couldn't help it and burst out laughing. Another idiot churned out by the exam-oriented education system. All they know how to do is spout canned responses to past tests. TCH, so boring, just gotta get through this class, then I'm ditching to go online. End of the full text. Story 2. I'm pregnant with the child of the devoted second male lead, but when I suffered a hemorrhage during difficult labor, he was by the female lead's side, showering her with attention. I was in excruciating pain, my body growing colder. At the moment my soul left my body, I muttered self-mockingly, if I could start over, I'd never waste my heart on a man again. 1. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually been reborn back to the beginning of the story. At that time, the male and female leads were passionately entangled, clearly a pair of bickering lovers. The gentle second male lead, Su Yanhe, is the childhood friend of the female lead Lin Yuyu, silently watching over her all along. In the story, he embodies the classic beautiful, strong, tragic archetype, raised in a single-parent household with a seriously ill mother, juggling studies while earning money to support the family and pay for her treatment. His life is marked by his mother's death, failing the college entrance exam, and failed business ventures. As the devoted second lead, he remains the female lead's eternal safe harbor and sturdiest support. After she marries the male lead, he leaves for a foreign country, fulfilling his destined to be alone ending. His entire character arc wrings endless tears from readers. I've always been a sucker for gentle and devoted character types, and after finishing the entire novel, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmingly heartbroken for him. In my past life, after dying inexplicably, I transmigrated into a book and became a beautiful extra. Reason tells me I should never get involved in their story, just be a quiet background character, but in the end, emotion triumphed over reason. Perhaps out of shared suffering, I couldn't help but be drawn to Su Yanhe. Willingly guarding him, doing everything in my power to redeem him, I'd gladly tear out my own heart and give it to him, yet none of it could compare to the female lead's tearful plea, "Brother Xiaohe, I miss you so much." So Su Yanhe abandoned me at the hospital while I was in labor, rushing off to comfort the female lead who had run away after a fight with the male lead. Overwhelmed by intense emotions, my water suddenly broke. And then, I died on the cold operating table, too. I took the initiative to distance myself from the main group. Su Yanhe quickly sensed something was amiss. After all, it had always been me shamelessly clinging to him, forcing my way into their circle. The sudden estrangement became so obvious even outsiders noticed. My top student desk mate quietly asked me if I had a fight with Su Yanhe and the others. I patted the exercise book and smiled generously. Of course not. I just want to study hard, the final exams are coming soon. And I don't want to be at the bottom of the class again. As soon as I finished speaking, an intense gaze from the front row immediately pierced through me. No need to guess, I already know it's Su Yanhe. He's been secretly observing me many times these days, always looking like he wants to say something but hesitates. But he's clearly afraid Lin Yuyu might misunderstand something, so he doesn't dare to approach me first. In my past life, I was both foolish and pathetic. Thinking I could redeem him, never expected to end up with such a ridiculous outcome. Nowadays, I can't even muster the will for revenge. Firstly, I don't want the slightest connection with the main characters anymore, and secondly, I genuinely lack both the ambition and courage to do evil. Right now, I just want to fully enjoy my wonderful life. After dying twice, I've come to cherish living even more. Life is hard one, whether in the real world or the story's world. I've never truly lived freely even once. In my previous life before transmigrating into the novel, I was clearly my mother's precious darling too, but back then I had congenital leukemia, my father ran away, and my mother had to work extremely hard to raise me all by herself. But later, I was only 15 when I fell to my death. My mother must have been devastated. As I kept thinking about it, my nose tingled with sadness, and tears nearly fell. Suddenly, Lin Yu's sweet voice sounded behind me. Gugu, why haven't you been playing with us lately? Did you have a fight with brother Xiaohe? I looked up and immediately met Su Yanhe's probing gaze not far away. The next second, I flipped him off silently, mouthing, dumbass. His smile froze as he stared at me in disbelief. 3. Seeing the female lead's innocent expression, I smiled faintly. Yes, I had a big fight with him. A really intense one. Oh, how could this happen? She looked surprised. Yet there was a hint of secret delight in her expression, as expected of someone so young, still unable to conceal their thoughts. Because, I put on a very sad and angry face, I found out he likes you, so I don't want to like him anymore. Upon hearing this, Lin Yu's face instantly turned pale as she nervously glanced around. After a long pause, she finally stammered out an explanation. Gugu. What nonsense are you talking about? I've always seen Xiaohe as an older brother. And he definitely sees me as a younger sister. We're just very good friends. Don't talk nonsense. As she spoke, her voice grew increasingly uncertain, clearly showing her guilty conscience. I found it somewhat amusing. Everyone could tell that Su Yanhe liked her. Could she really not notice anything at all? In the end, it's just using the guise of siblings to act as lovers. No rejection, no initiative, no commitment. As long as she doesn't pierce through this thin veil, she can freely enjoy Su Yanhe's affection toward her. Too lazy to watch her face turn green then red, I grabbed my vocabulary book and went out to memorize words, brushed past Su Yanhe who was walking towards me. He tried to grab me. I cursed. Get lost. The gentle smile on his face completely vanished, replaced by a puzzled look of mild anger. The male lead Qingyi came over to join the fun, wanting to mock Su Yanhe. Me. You get out too. What a dumbass who can't even keep his wife in check. I equally despise every single member of the main character group. Qingyi was startled and turned back toward Lin Yu with resentment. Tigress, did you eat explosives or something? I roughly shoved Su Yanhe, who was blocking the way, and quickly left the classroom. For several days in a row, everyone kept to themselves peacefully, but we became like strangers. After school that day, I went to the alley as usual to feed Fatty. Fatty is a stray orange tabby cat with high wariness towards humans. I planned to lure it home after gaining its trust through feeding. In my previous life, both Lin Yu and I wanted to adopt it. Fatty was about to come with me, but Su Yanhe interfered at the last moment. After his repeated persuasion, I handed Fatty over to Lin Yu, but because Qingyi didn't like cats, she casually gave the cat to Su Yanhe to raise. I took the opportunity to claim it back. This time, I'll definitely strike first. Just as I reached the alley entrance, I heard Lin Yu's delicate laughter. Wow, Xiaohe, this cat is so adorable. I really want to take it home. I quickly jogged over and stopped her hand from grabbing the cat. Don't touch it, Fatty will bite. She reluctantly withdrew her hand and asked unhappily, Goo, is this your cat? LOL, how quick you are to change your tune. Finally stopped calling me cuckoo. Sounds like a pigeon that's become a spirit. Yes, my cat. I replied expressionlessly, squatting down to put out cat food. Lin Yu bit her lip and said timidly, but it looks like a stray cat to me. Why don't I give it a home? No way. I refused outright. This is my cat. I'm taking it home. I refused to give up the cat, and Lin Yu was determined to have it. Su Yanhe gave her a helpless yet doting glance. He spoke to me very politely. Classmate Gu, could you take this cat? I couldn't be bothered to argue with them, so I simply picked up Fatty and left. Strangely, Fatty didn't struggle this time and was unusually well behaved. Seeing that I was about to take the cat away, Lin Yu grew anxious. She pleaded persistently with a coquettish tone. Xiaohe, help me. Su Yanhe sighed with a smile. TSK, I really can't do anything about you. So he caught up and stopped me, launching his usual gentle persuasion. Looking at the boy with his warm smile before me, I was seething with hatred inside. It was precisely this gentle yet fragile expression that made me fall for him time and again in my past life, accompanied him through his mother's passing, stood by him after his college entrance exam failure, gave him my heart and soul. Clearly, it was him who confessed to me first, making me develop these improper fantasies about him, and it was also him who proposed to me, promising me a lifetime together. But why is he still entangled with Lin Yu? At this moment, the pain and sorrow from my past life surged into my heart all at once. The resentment could no longer be suppressed. With a loud smack, I uncontrollably raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. You worthless man. Goo, how could you hit someone? Lin Yu screamed indignantly. Su Yanhe's head was knocked sideways by the blow. fingernails scratching his chin as beads of blood began to seep out. I withdrew my hand with lingering satisfaction. This slap is for your heartless betrayal, for your cold and faithless nature. Lin Yuyu was heartbroken and indignantly accused me of being malicious, saying I wanted to destroy what I couldn't have, then call the police. I retorted with a smile. Also, what do you mean by destroy what you can't have? I don't understand. Why don't you explain the whole story to me? Classmate Lin, as if she could explain it. If she explains, wouldn't that be directly tearing off the thin veil between them? How could she continue being siblings with Su Yenhe then? Sure enough, Lin Yuyu instantly lost her bravado, looking at me in panic, afraid I might say something I shouldn't. Tisk tsk, she's got a guilty conscience. But how could I possibly go remind Su Yenhe? This was the fate he deserved all along. Remembering Aunt Wang was still waiting for me in the car. I pulled out several hundred-yuan bills from my backpack, because I didn't want to get close to these two people. The banknotes fluttered lightly to the ground. Classmate Su, this is for the medical expenses. Is it enough? If not, I can add more. Guyu, don't go too far. Lin Yuyu flared up in anger again. Having money doesn't make you special. Apologize to brother Xiaohe right now. I ignored her and instead sized up Su Yenhe. Even a clay figure has some temper. The gentler a person is, the more earth-shaking their anger becomes. Having spent so many years with him in my past life, I know him all too well. What he hates most is having his dignity trampled upon. And now, this is exactly what I'm doing. As expected, he got angry, his face darkening terrifyingly, though the fury in his eyes was practically blazing. He still smiled and comforted the heroine, saying it was fine, truly worthy of being the devoted second male lead. I rolled my eyes and walked away with Fatty in my arms without looking back. 5. I want to transfer schools. After all, as long as I remain within the main character's sphere of activity, I'll inevitably cross paths with them. One careless move and I'll get tangled up in their romantic entanglements. While watching drama and eating melons is quite amusing, it's not so fun when you're the one acting in the play. The character I transmigrated into is a wealthy, beautiful, and privileged background character, an orphan who inherited a massive fortune, with a non-blood-related uncle becoming my legal guardian. In my past life, I had little interaction with this uncle, only knowing he was enigmatic, appearing and disappearing like a phantom. The moment I turned 18, he immediately terminated the guardianship, handed over the entire inheritance, and vanished from my life. With this inheritance, Su Yenhe not only avoided business failure after graduating from university but also expanded his ventures, eventually taking the company public. In the business world, everyone respectfully addresses him as President Su. In contrast, Qinyi, the male lead who runs a game studio, appears somewhat overshadowed. Lin Yuyu envies my lavish life as a wealthy wife, yearning for the social glamour of high society, while Su Yenhe's immense wealth also benefits her and Qinyi. I know the Lin family has shown him kindness, and he wants to repay that debt. As long as he doesn't go too far, I'll turn a blind eye. But he crossed the line. A scumbag who crosses the line doesn't deserve forgiveness. In my past life, I had planned to divorce after giving birth, but I never expected to die from childbirth complications. Is this the price I pay for altering the plot? Lost in melancholy thoughts, my phone suddenly rang. Seeing the number, I felt puzzled. He actually took the initiative to call me. How strange. As soon as the call connected, my uncle's deep, magnetic voice came through. Did you get into a fight at school? Completely confused, I quickly denied it. No, I didn't. Your homeroom teacher called me and said you hit someone. He didn't sound pleased. Oh, so it was the main characters who went to complain, thinking that I still need this guy's signature to transfer schools. I better not make him angry. Just as I was racking my brains for an excuse to get out of it, he suddenly ordered, "Turn on the video." Turn on the video. I need to see if you're hurt. Before I could respond, he had already hung up the phone. The next second, a video call invitation immediately appeared on my phone. 6. I answered it without thinking. In an instant, a stunning beauty appeared on the screen, and I instinctively held my breath. Dressed in a sleek suit, tall and elegant, he held a wine glass. Looking as if he were attending some cocktail party, his eyes sparkled with laughter, yet the smile didn't reach them, sharpness concealing calculation. "Uncle," I called softly. He turned his head with a lazy posture, looking me up and down in an appraising manner. Then, with relaxed brows, he said cheerfully, "Not a scratch," as expected of someone under my wing. "What happened? Tell me about it." Having said that, he casually dealt with those who came to exchange pleasantries. I carefully weighed my words and told a simple lie, saying it was just a conflict arising from friction between classmates. Not daring to delay for a moment, I immediately admitted my mistake. I'm very sorry, it was my fault, I shouldn't have hit someone. He shot me a sharp glance, lazily drawing out his tone. Did I say you were wrong? Just a slap. Yet your homeroom teacher got so worked up it was like the school exploded. If you ask me, you let that kid off too easy. Next time something like this happens, tell me, I'll have someone chop his hands off and feed them to the dogs. I was shocked. What? Seriously? He raised an eyebrow. What? You want to do it yourself? Well, it's not entirely impossible. He pondered briefly, actually considering the feasibility, but a young lady like you really shouldn't be involved in violence. I was utterly shocked and completely baffled. Good grief, old man, you're truly the epitome of double standards. Got anything else? If not, I'll hang up first. I need to deal with the old man. He raised his glass to me and downed the red wine in one gulp. Yes, I hurriedly cut in. Uncle, I want to transfer schools. He paused mid-motion and stared at me for a moment. Not chasing after your little boyfriend anymore. Given up on love. Hearing this, I felt a strange sensation in my heart. How does he even know about this? Has he been secretly watching me all along? Perhaps my suspicious gaze was too obvious, as his expression suddenly darkened and he began impatiently shooing me away. Transfer if you want, go find List, he'll handle everything. List is his personal assistant. Also, next month I'll return to the country. We'll talk about your academic performance then. You'd better explain clearly why your grades are so terrible. How did my grades end up so terrible, even though I'm at the bottom of my class? At least I'm still in the top 100 of the grade. I was just about to argue with him, but he had already thrown his phone to List, leaving me with nothing but his cold back. In the frame, List smiled awkwardly yet politely. Me, a grumpy old man with a dog's temper. Serves you right for living to 30 in your past life without even holding a woman's hand. 7. With nothing better to do, I started organizing the storage room. Anything related to Su Yanha, I threw it all into the trash. Auntie Wan brought over a cup of fruit smoothie and urged me to take a break. Miss, let me clean this up. Be careful drinking, don't choke. I couldn't wait and took a big gulp of the smoothie, squinting my eyes in comfort. So wonderful, the long-lost taste of Mom's cooking. Every chemotherapy session for leukemia was excruciating, so Mom would make milkshakes to comfort me. She originally couldn't cook, but for my sake, she diligently practiced recipes and became an excellent cook. She was a top graduate from Shanghai University of Finance and Economics, and had many suitors after the divorce. Without me, she could have had a much brighter future. If I die, she would definitely be very sad, but what's the use of keeping a daughter like me who is willful and unfilial, just a burden? In the midst of silence, Aunt Wang suddenly spoke. Miss, I think that classmate Sue has a wife-repelling face. He's not a good match, you'd better not fall for him. I couldn't help but laugh. Auntie Wang, you can even read faces, how impressive. She grew somewhat anxious. Miss, I'm not joking. This person looks cold-hearted and ungrateful. A fine young lady like you mustn't fall for someone like him. I nodded in agreement. Indeed, this person is no good, so rest assured, I definitely wouldn't like him. She visibly relaxed upon hearing this. A warm feeling blossomed in my heart, filling me with joy. How wonderful it feels to be cared for and remembered like this. Speaking of Auntie Wang, she's a character I've only met in this lifetime, never encountered in my past life. Probably just an extra back then. 2 months ago when I collapsed on the roadside with fever, she was the one who found and took me to the hospital. She said she came to the city to look for her daughter. Her daughter had been missing for a long time, and she even had nightmares about her being deceived by a scumbag who took her money and virtue, only to die in childbirth, unfortunately. She was illiterate and couldn't find a job to make a living after searching for a long time. After hearing her story, I immediately empathized with her. Alas, another poor mother. So, I invited her to take care of the plants at my home. Thinking of this, I scratched my head and cautiously asked her, have you heard from your daughter? Do you need my help to find her? She smiled bitterly and sighed, shaking her head and nodding at the same time, yet there was no trace of disappointment on her face. Instead, she looked at me with a serious expression. Actually, as long as she's doing well, healthy and lively, even if she's not by my side, I can accept it. I just hope she can live a happy and joyful life. As she spoke, she gazed at me with tender affection in her eyes. I uncomfortably turned my head away. This, cough, could she possibly be mistaking me for her daughter? I don't really mind. But that young lady would probably be heartbroken if she knew, having her motherly love inexplicably substituted away like this. But seeing Aunt Wang's face full of anticipation and joy, I thought about it and ultimately said nothing. Forget it, let her be. 8. List actually flew back overnight. Early the next morning, I saw his car at the school gate. He motioned for me to get in the car to talk. I opened the car door, never expecting to see my uncle inside. He was lounging lazily in the seat, head slightly bowed, appearing both noble and dangerous, exuding an aura that kept strangers at bay. I was debating whether to wake him up, because his morning temper is huge. Lister spoke up from the other side. Boss, the young lady is here. Oldly, you're really being incredibly thoughtful. Little uncle opened his eyes, his expression clearly displeased, and Lister wisely made himself scarce, giving me a you're on your own look. I wanted to slip away too, but the man behind me grabbed my backpack strap. He patted the seat beside him expressionlessly. Get in. I steeled myself and reluctantly sat down. Have you eaten? He condescended to ask. I have, but I haven't eaten yet. I choked, then tentatively asked, shall I take you to a restaurant? He snorted coldly and ignored me. After a while, he suddenly asked, how old are you this year? With shameless cheerfulness, I grinned and replied, I'll be turning 17 next month. He then stared at me with an inscrutable expression, half smiling. 17 already, how fast time flies. Just one more year left then. Thinking he was referring to the guardianship matter, I happily showered him with flattery, recalling all these years of his care. Ha, even without blood ties, you'll always be my dearest uncle. I'll take care of you in your old age and see you off when the time comes. He laughed in exasperation. I'm only 7 years older than you. Do I need you to support me in my old age? Of course, uncle. You're handsome, wealthy, and capable of anything. What use would you have for a small fry like me? I continued shamelessly buttering him up. He was silent for a moment before abruptly changing the subject. Do you remember why your guardianship ended up in my hands? How would I know that? When I came in, there was only an old butler and a few nannies around me. You had long since packed up and gone abroad for further studies, and in my previous life, no one ever mentioned this matter. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, he simply answered his own question. Looks like you don't remember. Fine, we'll talk about it when you go to college. He made up his mind and refused to say more. It just piqued my curiosity. Could there be some hidden plot here that I don't know about? Just as I was about to speak, he suddenly leaned in close, his cool-toned cologne mingling with the scent of red wine, instantly enveloping me in an inescapable embrace. I suddenly felt my mouth go dry and couldn't help licking my lips. It's getting late, you should head into school. I've been driving all night and need to rest my eyes for a bit. He stretched out his long arm, and thinking he was opening the car door for me, I quickly shifted aside. I never expected he would just take away the CD calcium milk from the side pocket of my backpack, then heartlessly kicked me off the car. Me, I hate adults with no sense of boundaries. 9. Liz took the confession letter I copied from everywhere and went to the academic affairs office. Want me to apologize to Su Yenhe in person? LMAO. No way in hell. I was aimlessly wandering around the playground. After just a few laps, I saw the main group walking this way. Guyu, you stop right there, Lin Yuyu shouted from afar. As soon as the words fell, she and Chinyi flanked me from both sides. I frowned impatiently, thinking how damn unlucky this was. They just won't leave me alone. Su Yenhe walked over, his gaze darkly fixed on me. I heard you're transferring schools. Though he smiled gently, his eyes were ice cold. None of your business. I immediately retorted with sarcasm. What gives you the right to question me? Su Yenhe hadn't said anything yet. Lin Yuyu was displeased. Xiaohe, why are you wasting words with her? Make her apologize now. How dare she freeze that card? Doesn't she know it's your mother's life-saving money? I think she did it on purpose. Card? What card? Oh, I remember now. I did give Su Yenhe a card before. It was for his mother's medical treatment, but it definitely wasn't me who stopped it. Because after being reborn, I never even thought about this matter. I took a deep breath and said to Su Yenhe with utmost seriousness, whether you believe it or not, I didn't do this. Lin Yuyu became somewhat agitated upon hearing this and declared righteously, this is your card. If you didn't do it, then who else could have? Chinyi tugged at her arm, signaling her to say less. She was clearly emotional, standing on moral high ground like a righteous crusader, venting her thoughts. Give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. I was left speechless. As more and more classmates gathered on the playground, I started feeling annoyed. Su Yenhe, Please move aside, I want to go back. Yet he remained motionless, staring at me with sharp eyes. I'm not here to ask about that card, I just want to ask you one thing. I just can't figure it out. Why did you suddenly start hating me so much? Or rather, he suddenly leaned in and whispered very softly in my ear, you actually hate me, don't you? His tone was utterly certain, in an instant. My heart leaped into my throat, nearly jumping out of my chest. His current aloof and detached demeanor, stripped of its usual gentle undertones, gradually overlapped with his cold and indifferent self from the previous life. Could he have been reborn as well? No, impossible. I mustn't panic prematurely, no. Even as my heart churned with turmoil, I maintained a stoic expression and denied it. I don't hate you, I deliberately smirked maliciously and whispered, look down on you. That's all. I realized I misjudged you, so now I'm just waking up to the truth and correcting my mistake. 10, fine, you're doing just great. Suyen had glared at me with gritted teeth, his fists clenched tightly, veins bulging on his forehead. What do you take me for? A plaything you can summon and dismiss at will, or just some capricious charity from your young mistress playing at being worldly? You overestimate yourself too much. I interrupted bluntly. Even a plaything can amuse me when I pay for it, yet you won't even bother to sweet-talk me. How dare you claim to be a plaything? It's far more noble than you. Hearing this, Suyen, his gaze instantly turned sharp as a blade, as if he could cleave me in two. Lin Yu couldn't hear what we were saying, but she saw her Xiaohe's face turn ashen with anger. Ignoring Chenye's attempts to stop her, she raised her voice loudly, classmate Gu, why do you keep bullying Xiaohe? Just because Xiaohe doesn't like you, you first hit him for no reason, then deliberately stopped his mother's medical payments. You clearly know how hard he's been working to earn money for his mother's treatment. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd immediately erupted in commotion. At first, there were whispers and pointing fingers, then the accusatory voices grew louder and more numerous, completely unrestrained. Those words came flying at me densely, like razor blades. I was completely stunned. How long has it been since I last encountered such a scene? Even though it's been a long time, I still remember it very clearly. Back then, due to chemotherapy, I lost all my hair and my appearance became ugly. They deliberately pulled off my wig, mocking me as a freak. They paired me with the messiest boy in class, exaggeratedly mimicking my seizure movements, pointing and laughing right in my face. It was probably a rainy afternoon when they stopped me again for their amusement. Amid the shoving, I fell from the 7th floor railing. The howling wind mixed with screams rushed into my eardrums, and the world plunged into darkness in an instant. Could the same nightmare be repeating itself here again? In an instant, the helplessness, fear, and despair of near death came crashing down upon me once more. I couldn't help but tremble. No, I can't dwell on this. I need to stay calm and find a way out of this predicament. You're shivering from the cold. Why didn't you wear more? Amidst the chaos of my thoughts, a coat suddenly fell over my head, wrapping me up completely. The familiar scent of cold-toned perfume rushed towards me. He stood by my side, as if walking against the light. What are you afraid of? If you're bullied, just fight back. I've got your back no matter what. Also, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. 11. Uncle stood with one hand in his pocket, shielding me behind him while List followed closely by his side. As a business tycoon who operates in both legal and underworld circles, he was far beyond what Qinyi and Suyenhe could match at this stage. Just a slight release of his imposing aura was enough to intimidate these naive high school students. He surveyed the room with amusement, but narrowed his eyes slightly upon spotting Suyenhe. If there's anything, you might as well tell me. And I'll make the decision for her. Lin Yu inexplicably blushed and shyly stepped forward first, saying, hello, I'm Guyu's classmate. My name is Lin Yu. Well, the thing is actually like this. She stumbled through her explanation. Uncle listened expressionlessly. In his eyes, this farce was probably as childish as kids playing house. Yet I felt utterly defeated and at a loss. It seems I can never escape the nightmare of the real world, even if it happened in the life before last. Now the slightest trigger can infinitely amplify my fear, because I've never truly overcome it. Long ago, my mother was my protective shield. In my past life, this character's setting was my protective shield, a massive inheritance, superior social status, and an invincible uncle as my backing, so no one dared to bully or provoke me. Given another chance, I still find myself hiding behind others, being protected. I couldn't help but look up at the man standing before me, his tall figure shielding me from all malicious gazes and the flood of harsh words that should have come. Suddenly, my heart grew calm. No one is born strong, everyone starts from nothing. Even my youngest uncle was once exiled from the family, adopted by Grandpa Goo, and later returned with the demeanor of a strong man, reclaiming his position as heir. Gritting his teeth and persevering step by step, I once struggled with the boundary between reality and illusion, obsessed with using settings to conceal my cowardice, wretchedness, and lowliness, afraid that others would discover my ugly past self. I've also been stuck in a dead end, completely denying my own existence, even placing the hope of living a wonderful and happy life on others. Thinking of this, I subconsciously glanced at Su Yanhe, only to find him staring straight at me. Our eyes met. Yet I remained utterly calm, without a ripple of emotion in my heart, because I had suddenly seen the light. It was me in the past, the future will be mine too, the present is reality, I think, therefore I am. 12. I abruptly tore off my coat and strode forward before the crowd. Since it's a nightmare, I should be the one to break it apart piece by piece. For the first punch, let's start with this farce. Seeing this, my uncle silently took a step back, yielding the space to me. After receiving his approving and encouraging look, I cleared my throat and raised my voice. Hitting someone was indeed my fault. I was probably too scared at the time, worried that the kitten might be taken away, and impulsively got into a conflict with Sue and the others. I've already made a deep self-criticism to the teacher and can also apologize to Sue. As long as I don't say sorry, it doesn't count as an apology. I never stopped paying for Sue's mother's medical expenses. It's true that I gave Sue that bank card, and it contained all my saved allowance, about 1,000,000 yuan, which I donated unconditionally for Sue's mother's treatment and won't take back. Just a small amount of money, don't worry about it. As for why the money couldn't be withdrawn, I'll investigate and give everyone an explanation. When the time comes, I'll post clarifying notes in every corner of the school. I don't have feelings for Sue, let alone harbor hatred from unrequited love. The donation was purely out of compassion. You and Lin Yuyu should stay tied together forever. Don't go ruining other people's lives. That's how things are. The innocent need no defense, and I have a clear conscience. As soon as I finished speaking, I felt a wave of relief. I could finally face the bloody scar deep in my heart and confront myself with courage, fearless and carefree. People were whispering among themselves when suddenly someone shouted. Some people do good deeds without expecting anything in return, while others contribute nothing but their mouths, just spouting moral judgments. Once someone took the lead, others naturally joined in. Exactly, without knowing the truth, you'd think they were truly heinous criminals. No matter how rich someone is, it's their family's money. They can donate if they want to, or not if they don't. How dare the recipients make demands? We're all classmates. How can you accuse someone without even understanding the situation? Our class discipline committee member also stepped forward. Lin, I think you should apologize to Gu. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We can't let good-hearted people feel unappreciated. Lin Yuyu looked left and right in disbelief, only to find everyone staring at her with reproachful eyes, overwhelmed with grievance. Her eyes reddened as she ran out of the crowd in tears. Qingyi quickly chased after her. Just then, the class bell rang, and the playground quickly emptied as everyone scattered. Only Su Yanhe remained standing in place. He took a step, about to walk toward me. Pretending not to see him, I immediately turned around and cooed, "Uncle, I'm so tired, I really want to go home." Then go home and rest. Even brave girls can be willful sometimes. He smiled and patted my head, giving List a subtle glance without changing his expression. The other party immediately stepped forward to stop Su Yanhe. After we had walked quite a distance, Su Yanhe suddenly shouted forcefully at my retreating figure, "Guyu, I will definitely pay you back that over 1,000,000 yuan someday. I don't owe you anything." 13. The reason for the card's deactivation was easy to trace. Su Yanhe had used it for part-time job order brushing, resulting in excessively large transaction volumes. The bank suspected him of money laundering and fraud, leading to the card being frozen. I asked List to help me handle this matter and also instructed him to tell Su Yanhe that if he insisted on repaying the money, he should donate it in my name to children in mountainous areas. A week later, I transferred to a high school in the capital. Aunt Wang and the old butler came along with me as well. Ever since leaving behind those troublesome people and matters, the sky turned bluer, the grass greener, and even the wrinkles on the old butler's face seemed so endearing. Every day, I'm in a cheerful mood. Although Aunt Wang didn't know what had happened, she shared in my joy. She was extremely intelligent. Despite being illiterate, she learned everything quickly and soon figured out all my preferences and tastes. She understood many principles, spoke little, yet always cut through the fog, seemingly knowing me better than I knew myself. Gradually, she took complete charge of my daily life. Never delegating to others, but she would often gaze at me absent-mindedly, her eyes filled with both sorrow and contentment, as if through me, she was looking at another person she had been longing for day and night. I understood she was thinking of her daughter. I asked my uncle to help find her daughter, but he stared at me strangely for a long time. Fortunately, he didn't refuse. 14. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. On my 18th birthday, I received a call from an unknown number. "Hello," I greeted politely. The person on the other end remained silent, only their rapid, nervous breathing audible. "Hello," thinking it might be a classmate playing a prank, I called out several times. That person remained silent. In the living room, Aunt Wang was calling me to make a wish and cut the cake. I was about to hang up the phone. Suddenly, that person spoke up in a hoarse voice, "Happy birthday to you." This time it was my turn to fall silent. I remembered that in my past life, when I was with Su Yenhe, I rarely celebrated my birthday, only my uncle's never late birthday wishes and gifts every year. Because Su Yenhe's mother passed away around this time, the anniversary of her death was 2 days before my birthday, just before the college entrance exams. Perhaps out of humanitarianism, I should offer Su Yenhe some words of condolence at this moment, but I no longer want to feel sorry for men, because feeling sorry for men only brings a lifetime of misfortune. Probably realizing I was about to hang up, he suddenly grew agitated and urgently pressed, "Which school are you planning to apply to?" I was thinking. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, I hung up the call, and promptly blocked the number for good measure, all in one smooth motion. 15. Near the end of the birthday party, List came over and told me that my uncle had prepared a gift for me, placed on the rooftop for me to collect. The rooftop was a vast sky garden, where seasonal flowers were airlifted monthly with their soil and carefully planted. I went up to the rooftop, only to find it completely empty. I searched everywhere but couldn't find the gift. Instead, wearing high heels and a long dress left me exhausted and sweating profusely. I felt somewhat discouraged and decided to go downstairs to confront Lister for a clear explanation. Suddenly, a beam of intense light pierced through the clouds, shining straight down from the distant sky, illuminating the surroundings as bright as daylight. The roar of propellers grew louder as a helicopter descended from the sky, its powerful winds making it hard to keep one's eyes open and causing everything to sway precariously. A tall, straight figure slowly emerged at the cabin door. He slightly leaned forward and extended a hand to me like a gentleman. "Hop on, I'll take you for a ride." I carefully lifted my skirt and stepped forward, gently placing my hand into his large palm, but with a sudden forceful pull, I stumbled and accidentally fell into his embrace. The lipstick on my lips instantly left a bright red mark across his chest. The pilot, a foreigner, let out a rather suggestive whistle at the sight. My cheeks instantly burned, my heart pounded wildly, and I didn't know where to look. Fortunately, Uncle didn't seem to notice. Calmly ordering the takeoff, I heaved a huge sigh of relief, silently berating myself. "Guyu, oh Guyu, he's your little uncle. What on earth are you thinking about?" The helicopter soared over the city, with countless glittering lights below, dazzling and beautiful, as fireworks exploded across the night sky outside the window. He mysteriously handed me a bag of documents, smiling with hidden meaning. "Happy birthday. Your 18th birthday gift, but don't open it yet. Wait until you go to college, LOL. I've seen this document folder in my past life. It contains that massive inheritance. Not letting me open it is probably to avoid affecting my college entrance exam mindset. Okay, thanks to my handsome and wealthy uncle. Just thinking about the money inside that could last lifetimes, my words instantly turned extra sweet. He immediately flicked my forehead. "Our guardianship has ended." He seemed to emphasize these words heavily. "Stop calling me uncle. It makes me sound old and ruins my romantic prospects." He gazed at me meaningfully, his eyes dark and inscrutable, rubbing my forehead. I thought to myself, "You've never had any romantic prospects to begin with. How can you blame me for that? You look quite unconvinced," he said with a forced smile. "Not at all," I stubbornly denied. "Heh. Then what should I call you from now on?" I immediately asked humbly. "As you wish." "Chi Zian," I tentatively called out. He didn't respond. "Brother Chi." He gave me a dirty look. "Brother Zian, Brother Xiaoyan." I suddenly felt mischievous and started calling out random names one after another, getting more and more excited, but failed to notice his increasingly strange expression. Later, he told me that actually, that day, he would have preferred to hear me call out somewhere else, "You pervert." 16. After the college entrance exams, I received the admission letter from Jinghua University. During the 2-month summer vacation, I took Wang Ma and the old butler on a wild trip across the country. I've noticed that I seem to be relying more and more on Auntie Wang when playing. If she's not around, I feel a bit empty inside. Whenever there's something delicious or fun, I'm always the first to excitedly share it with her. I even worry that if one day she finds her own daughter, will she still cherish me as much as she does now? But stealing someone else's maternal love is shameful. I can only try to suppress these feelings deep in my heart, afraid to let Auntie Wang notice, but she seemed to sense my restlessness and quietly maintained an appropriate distance from me. Though somewhat saddened, there was nothing I could do about it. Qi Zian would occasionally fly over to accompany me on trips, but after 2 or 3 days, he'd be busy flying back again. More often, he would send List over to keep an eye on me in his stead, claiming it was to prevent me from straying from the right path. College life arrived very soon. Freshman year was quite busy, but Qi Zian had more free time. He specifically drove me home and to school on weekends, often taking me out to eat, drink, and have fun. I always feel like he's been holding something against me lately, because the way he looks at me grows increasingly inscrutable and unfathomable with each glance. Like a venomous serpent lurking in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to devour its prey. Or perhaps I'm overthinking it. According to memories from my past life, the internet industry will usher in a new wave of development opportunities in 2 years. I plan to seize the initiative and get a share of the pie. The startup capital naturally came from that huge inheritance. So, on an ordinary morning, I opened that untouched file folder, 17, unlike the previous life. Besides the inheritance transfer agreement, there were 2 additional letters inside. One was an ancient-style marriage certificate, the other was a handwritten letter. I casually glanced at the marriage certificate, but my gaze was instantly riveted, and a storm of shock surged within me. Why are my name and Qi Zian's written on this? For some inexplicable reason, a secret excitement quietly spread through my heart. I patted my flushed cheeks, suppressed the corners of my mouth that were curling up, and reopened that handwritten letter, signed by Uncle Gu and dated 7 years ago. I skimmed through it in no time. The gist of the letter was that Qi Zian and I had been betrothed since childhood, but as fate would have it, after Qi Zian fell into misfortune, he was adopted by Grandpa Gu to conceal his identity, and later successfully returned to his family, reclaiming everything. Before his death, Father Gu left a will specifically requesting Qi Zian to marry me and take over the Gu family business. The letter stated that if I wanted the inheritance, I must marry Qi Zian, otherwise, the entire inheritance would go to Qi Zian. This was done to prevent the Gu family's wealth from falling into the hands of ill-intentioned people, which could destroy a century-old foundation overnight, while also avoiding me being constantly targeted and schemed against. So you're saying if I hadn't married Qi Zian, I would have lost both the person and the money? Damn it, what kind of bullshit plot is this? I refuse to accept this. I protest. I want to report the author for writing nonsense. Wait, that's not right. I suddenly realized. Why did I just use the phrase lose both the person and the money? I accidentally revealed my thoughts. But why didn't Qi Zian ever mention this in my previous life? And he even returned all the inheritance to me. Could it be that he dislikes me, would rather lose money than keep the wife? 18. I was so melancholy that I ate 2 fewer bowls of rice at lunch. Aunt Wang clearly noticed, and after lunch, she knocked on my bedroom door. Little fish, are you feeling down today? She asked kindly, sitting by the bed. I collapsed weakly onto the bed, clinging to Fatty while throwing a tantrum in her arms. Rolling around, Auntie Wang, I'm so conflicted. What's troubling you, little fish? Why don't you tell me about it? She smiled gently. Well, I twisted my fingers nervously, stammering. It's just that I think I've developed feelings for someone, but because of some bad things that happened before, I might not have the courage to like anyone anymore. She smiled knowingly. Just because a little fish choked once while eating, should it never eat again? I shook my head. Of course not. How could one forsake good food? Then she continued thoughtfully, by the same logic, is it worth giving up many other wonderful things just because of one bad experience? I immediately shook my head. But I'm not sure if he likes me, I muttered quietly, feeling somewhat dejected. You're talking about Mr. Qi, aren't you? Her response hit the nail on the head, having my thoughts seen through so easily. I buried my head in Fatty's big belly in embarrassment. I actually think if it's Mr. Qi, little fish could give it a try. She gently lifted my head, freeing Fatty's belly. I believe Mr. Qi isn't the type to play with people's feelings. Perhaps I'm just not ready myself. I couldn't help but sigh. She then smiled slightly and comforted me considerately. Little fish, remember this, whether you choose to marry or stay single, either path should be taken for the sake of happiness, but neither is a completely foolproof choice. When you don't know where to start, try following your most primal instinct, go with your intuition, you might just stumble upon an unexpected surprise. And Wang went out, leaving me alone to quietly gather my thoughts. After thinking for a long time, I realized she was right. There is no perfect choice in this world. I should let go of the past and give myself a chance. So I immediately got out of bed and rushed into the study, slamming the marriage certificate onto his desk, with hands on my hips. I declared boldly despite lacking justification, "Qi Zian, do you want a wife or not?" He slowly raised his head, stared at the marriage certificate for a long while, then said expressionlessly, "If you want the inheritance, I can give it to you directly." "No, no, no." I shook a finger and said seriously, "That inheritance is the betrothal gift for marrying you. What if I don't want it?" He raised an eyebrow and looked at me leisurely. I stepped forward, grabbed his tie, and pretended to be fierce, saying, "Then I'll have no choice but to kidnap you back to the Gu family ancestral home to be my bandit's wife." He feigned a sigh, smiling like a fox with a big tail. "Well then, I'll reluctantly accept it." I patted his head. "Good boy. I'll work hard to earn money and take care of you." He loosened his cuffs and glanced at me sideways. "Have I been too indulgent with you lately?" Sensing danger, I quickly made my escape. His teasing voice immediately came from behind. "Little coward." After the impulse came a wave of fear. Standing outside the study door, my heart pounded wildly, my back drenched in cold sweat. Heaven knows how much I was bluffing just now. My legs weak with nervousness, I couldn't help but touch my face. It was indeed burning hot, probably red as a ripe tomato by now. Humph, at least he knows what's good for him. If he dares to refuse, well, actually getting rejected isn't the end of the world. So what if I fail? There's plenty more fish in the sea. 19. According to the plot, Chen Yi and Lin Yuyu would both be admitted to Shanghai Ocean University, while Su Yanhe, after repeating a year, followed closely by entering the neighboring Shanghai Jiaotong University. But I never expected to see Su Yanhe as the freshman representative giving a speech at the new student orientation ceremony. He was clearly targeting me, because he openly and aggressively pursued me. Accidental encounters, saving seats, buying meals, sending flowers and gifts, posting on confession walls. He would stop at nothing. Gossip spread instantly across campus. A handsome freshman hopelessly infatuated with the department's flower, willingly licking boots. I've rejected him countless times. I even crushed the gifts underfoot in front of him and threw them in the trash, but it completely failed to dispel his paranoia. That day, after the club's public performance ended, I gave a thank you speech as the lead actor. Amid the crowd's teasing, a senior came up to present flowers. This senior had previously pursued me but was rejected, and recently showed strong signs of making a comeback. On stage, he suddenly knelt on one knee, pulled out a ring, and unexpectedly proposed to me in public. The hundreds of drowsy eyes in the audience instantly lit up, and even the students who were about to leave early stayed. Everyone was waiting for my reaction. Just as I was feeling a headache, I suddenly felt an inexplicable chill down my spine. A sharp gaze from the crowd was firmly locked on me. I instinctively turned my head, only to find Qi Zian had somehow arrived here. He leaned against a corner of the auditorium, staring straight at me with a half-smile. Before me knelt the senior student on one knee. Behind me was Qi Zian's snake-like gaze. Between the devil and the deep blue sea, I was caught in a dilemma, wishing I could vanish into thin air. After carefully considering my words, I was about to politely decline the senior. Suddenly and unexpectedly, another figure rushed onto the stage. It was Su Yanhe. "What the hell are you doing?" He threw a punch at the senior. The two immediately started grappling with each other. The onlookers quickly stepped in to break up the fight. I took advantage of the chaos to slip away quickly. I originally planned to sneak around Qi Zian through the back door, but unexpectedly, he blocked my path right then. He stepped closer to me, one step at a time. Each step felt like it landed right on the tip of my heart, making it tremble. With a cold senior in front and a devoted junior behind, our little fish is quite the charmer, isn't she? Though the words were complimentary, his smile was eerily sinister. Not bad. My eyes darted around uneasily. "What, you think it's not enough?" He raised his voice in dissatisfaction. Seeing him puff up like an angry chubby cat, I walked over amusedly to smooth his ruffled fur. "Don't be mad. I'll treat you to fish when we get home." I wrapped my arms around his waist and planted a light kiss on his chin. He narrowed his eyes in delight. The next second, he suddenly lifted me up and pinned me against the wall with a grin. "But I can't wait to get home." Terrified, I immediately tried to pry his hand away. "Let go. There are cameras here. Don't embarrass yourself and drag me into it." He swiftly pulled off the suit jacket draped over his arm and threw it over my head. "That should take care of it. You're just burying your head in the sand." Before I could finish speaking, his forceful yet tender kiss came down. Afterwards, he looked thoroughly satisfied. After finishing the small fish, "When do we eat the big one?" he asked humbly. I covered the cut on my lip and gave him a disdainful look. 20. I moved out of the dorm and went back home, leaving campus right after class to avoid running into any more bad romantic prospects. Petty squabbles are minor, but upsetting Chi Zian's massive jealousy is a serious matter. After Su Yanhe failed to intercept me several times, he gradually began to give up. After all, for him, scholarships and part-time jobs were more important. He got into a public fight with that senior student, and both of them received disciplinary actions from the school. I encountered him again 2 years after graduating from university, at a well-known law firm. His startup had failed, and he came to consult about bankruptcy liabilities. We crossed paths in the hallway, and I walked past him without a sideways glance, yet he reached out and stopped me. Only then did I see clearly. His appearance was utterly haggard and gaunt, a far cry from the spirited CEO Su of his past life. "We were classmates once. Care for a drink?" he asked softly. I took a step back. "No need, let's talk about it right here." His head drooped listlessly, yet he smiled tenderly, as if he had never suffered hardship or failure. "Do you know why I started this business? My personality is clearly not suited for being a merchant at all." I thought to myself, it's all for Lin Yuyu. You saw Chinyi running his studio with such vigor, couldn't stand being outdone, and jumped on the entrepreneurship bandwagon too. Without waiting for my reply, he continued talking to himself. "I was thinking, if I became stronger than that man, strong enough to make everyone take notice, would you finally look at me differently?" "Boy, you're overthinking this." I had no interest in hearing about his entrepreneurial journey, and certainly didn't want to know I'd been cast in the female lead's role against my will. I turned to leave. He suddenly lunged at me, gripping my wrist tightly with bloodshot eyes. "It was me who got close to you first." Startled, I raised my foot to kick him. His eyes cleared in an instant as he reluctantly released my hand. "Sorry, I lost control." Then he gazed at me intently again. "Someone asked me to relay a message to you. He said he didn't mean to abandon you and your child that day. When he went to find Lin Yuyu, he intended to end things and tell her to stop pursuing him, but he never expected." "What nonsense are you spouting?" I impatiently cut him off, pretending to be completely clueless. "I'm not even married. How could I have a child? Did Su Yanhe also get reborn? I don't know." But I no longer had the heart to investigate, because none of that had anything to do with me. He shouted at my retreating figure, "Be careful of your uncle. He's not a good person. He harbors ill intentions toward you." I turned a deaf ear. I just kept striding forward. Later on, from high school classmates, I gradually heard some things about the male and female leads. Without the catalysis and assistance of Su Yanhe, the devoted second male lead, their romantic journey suddenly became full of obstacles. The two stumbled their way into the marriage hall. However, the issues from their dating days were never fundamentally resolved. After marriage, new conflicts erupted. Over time, the two ultimately ended up divorcing. As for Su Yanhe, it's said that after attending the main couple's wedding, he went abroad and was never heard from again. 21. Not long after Chi Zian and I got engaged, Aunt Wang suddenly fell seriously ill. The illness was severe, and within days the doctors issued a critical condition notice. The illness came on quite strangely, but Aunt Wang didn't seem to care at all. I was so anxious I kept pacing around, dragging Chi Zian to consult various experts, but it was all in vain. That evening, Aunt Wang suddenly became energetic again and even had the strength to eat. She quietly watched the sunset outside the window. "Little fish, the time has come. I must go now, and I may never return." I understood this was a final rally before the end, and with tear-blurred vision, I leaned over the bedside. "No, your daughter hasn't been found yet. You must stay strong. We'll find a way to cure you." After all this time, I'd long since subconsciously come to see her as a second mother. "No," she smiled gently, bathed in profound happiness. "I actually found her long ago. I watched her grow up healthy, take the college entrance exams, graduate from university, get engaged. She found someone willing to care for her, and will live a happy life from now on. So she had already found her daughter long ago. She never told me, but she never left me either. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel relieved or sad. She looked at me deeply, reluctant to part. As our eyes met, emotions surged uncontrollably, and I couldn't help but blurt out, "Mom," unexpectedly. She responded with a smile, "Yes." Then she said nonchalantly, "At last, we've recognized each other as mother and daughter." These words struck like a bolt from the blue, leaving my mind blank and my heart racing wildly. A bizarre thought slowly surfaced in my mind. No wonder the taste of her cooking felt so familiar to me. No wonder she insisted I call her Auntie Wang instead of Mrs. Wang. No wonder she was illiterate. The writing systems were completely different. While I had systematically learned this world's knowledge and had long grown accustomed to those characters and symbols, if I could transmigrate into a book, others certainly could too. "Mom, yes, Mom, I'm here." I threw myself into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably, calling out to her over and over again. She patiently responded to me each time without complaint. "I'm sorry," I wailed bitterly. "I'm sorry I didn't recognize you sooner. I'm sorry it took me so long to call you Mom. I'm sorry I didn't take good care of you either. But why is it that the moment I finally meet my mother, she has to leave me forever?" "Sweetheart, don't cry. It's not like we'll never see each other again," she said softly as she wiped away my tears. "Take good care of yourself, don't lose your temper. When Mom learns how to send dreams, I'll come visit you often." "What do you mean?" I sobbed uncontrollably. "Well, I was only able to come here thanks to my master's help, but as the price for helping you be reborn, I had to become his disciple, inherit his legacy, and couldn't acknowledge you as my mother," she explained gently. The more I listened, the more astonished I became. Hastily wiping away my tears, I pressed on, "Who is your master?" "Lady Mengpa," she replied with an embarrassed smile. "My master praised my cooking skills and wanted me to take over his job of brewing Mengpa soup." My mouth instantly gaped as wide as a goose egg. After a long while, I finally found my voice again and choked out, "You're not lying to me just to make me happy, are you? When have I ever lied to you?" I wiped my tears, sniffling and sobbing. Then Mom, you mustn't forget me. You have to come visit me often." She nodded with tears in her smile. Wait for me in the future, when I'll bring your son-in-law to see you at the Bridge of Helplessness." She burst into laughter and playfully tapped my nose with her translucent finger. We held each other tightly in an embrace. Before long, in a dazzling halo of light, her body gradually faded away, finally transforming into a streak of light. It flew out the window. Time began flowing again, and only then did I hear Chi Xian's anxious shouts outside the door. "Xiao Yu, what happened? I heard you crying." He forcefully broke open the door, rushed in, didn't even glance at the empty bed, and strode over to pull me into his embrace. "It's okay, don't be afraid, I'm here with you, you're not alone." Tears streamed freely as I buried my face hard into his chest. So, I wasn't all alone after all. While I'm here trying my best to redeem others, Mom is also working hard to save me on the other end. End of main text. Extra. 1. Chi Xian fell in love with Gu Yu at first sight. Unfortunately, at that time, he didn't know this was the person he was betrothed to since childhood. They first met at a rural homestay. At the time, he was looking for a parking spot when an old man suddenly ran over and lay down right in front of his car. He suddenly realized this was a setup for extortion. Already irritated from driving, now some fool was trying to scam him, just as he hesitated between driving off or paying to avoid trouble. A strange girl rushed over. Gu Yu came to deliver justice. She and her roommates had just been extorted by this old man yesterday. Within moments, she was shouting at the old man, whose booming voice and practiced aggression showed he'd done this many times before. Amidst the shouting, she suddenly clutched her chest, crouched on the ground trembling all over, and extended a shaky little hand toward the old man, making as if to grab his pant leg. "Help, I have a heart condition. Don't you dare leave, this is all your fault. You're not getting away without paying me 8 to 10 million. The old man took one look and realized he'd encountered someone who'd stop at nothing. He bolted away with swift, vigorous strides. Chi Xian immediately wanted to carry her to the hospital. Unexpectedly, she scrambled to her feet in one go, dusting off her clothes as she did. Hee. Actually, I'm not sick at all. Just scaring that old man. List wasn't there at the time. Otherwise Gu Yu would have recognized that the person before her was none other than her elusive little uncle. Chi Xian gazed at the mischievous, bright-eyed girl before him, experiencing for the first time what it meant to have a heart fluttering like a startled deer. He used to scoff at such romantic descriptions in classic literature, Why a startled deer? Why not a stampeding elephant? Was this some kind of elephant discrimination, to express his gratitude? Chi Zian treated her to a meal, but Guyu declined, saying her friends were waiting for her return. They were traveling during the National Day holiday. With that said, she waved her hand and ran off. The beauty didn't even leave her name, let alone contact information. In fact, if Chi Zian had paid more attention to his niece, he would have recognized his sweetheart long ago. Although he took over the guardianship of Guyu, it was out of gratitude towards Grandpa Gu. He himself had no thoughts whatsoever about Guyu. The only time I met Guyu, she was just 12 years old, while I was already nearly 20, long immersed in a life of power struggles and bloodshed. How could I possibly be interested in some little girl? So he arranged for someone to take care of her and simply left the country without a second thought. Even though Lister reported Guyu's situation to him every year, he couldn't be bothered to look, only caring that she was doing fine. He rarely sought out Guyu, she seldom contacted him either, preferring to reach out to Lister if needed. This resulted in the relationship between the two people being almost like that of complete strangers. 2. The second time they met was in Shanghai. She tapped on his car window with a radiant smile. "Sir, buy one please, support a college student's entrepreneurship." It turned out this was Guyu and her classmates' practical assignment, the street vendor economy, where they needed to reach a certain sales target to pass. Chi Ziyuan chose a car tassel because she said she had woven it herself. Then, like an awkward young boy, he excitedly hung this cheap, colorful tassel on his luxurious, expensive car. He stared at the swaying tassel as if gazing at his own restless heart. How beautiful, he thought, as he was admiring. It suddenly occurred to him that after all this time of unrequited love, he still didn't know who she was. But by the time he got off the car to look for her, she had already disappeared. He drove around the area several more times, but didn't see her again. She probably had already returned to school. He was frustrated for quite a while, but it was no use. However, he planned to attend to the important matters first and come back to search slowly later. This trip back to Shanghai was mainly to handle the Gu family inheritance matters. The little niece was already in college. It was time for him to return the inheritance to her. As for the arranged marriage, he never took it seriously. He wouldn't force himself to marry someone he didn't love for money, nor would he ruin a girl's entire life. Besides, he already had someone he liked now. 3. The heavens played a huge joke on him. When he stepped into the same doorway with Guyu, he was utterly shocked. With a tinge of regret creeping in, Guyu was also stunned speechless. The situation became extremely awkward. It was the old butler who came to smooth things over. At the dinner table, she kept calling him uncle repeatedly, each address feeling like a needle in his ear. Just 7 years apart, was he really that old? At this moment, he felt immensely grateful for the existence of their betrothal agreement. But before he could figure out how to bring it up, Guyu arrived with Su Yanhe. "Ah, she already has someone she likes. It seems I was too late." He couldn't stop regretting, hating himself for not being attentive enough and letting the opportunity slip away. Emotions swung wildly between extreme joy and sorrow. Falling from heaven into hell is nothing compared to this. In truth, he had the despicable thought of using the marriage contract and the inheritance to force Guyu to marry him. But would that still be Chi Zian if he did so? He disdained being the third party who steals love, nor did he want a relationship obtained through coercion. He's not that desperate for love, so he chose to let go, taking the marriage certificate and will, leaving only the inheritance agreement. After all, it was just a fleeting infatuation. With time, as he encountered new people and experiences, those feelings would surely fade, but he never expected that in the years to come he would rarely meet someone who could make his heart flutter like that again. To prevent himself from developing inappropriate thoughts and committing irreversible actions, Chi Zian deliberately avoided contacting Guyu after leaving Shanghai. He appeared even more indifferent than before, showing no concern for her. The only constant was the birthday gifts and blessings he sent annually in his capacity as an elder. He quietly kept track of Guyu's activities, as if trying to make up for all the missing love from those years. 4. That morning, List entered the CEO's office with unease. 5 minutes later, a roar of anger came from inside. The enraged person smashed everything in the office to pieces with loud crashes. List stood silently guarding outside the door, forbidding anyone from peeking. Chi Zian clutched the death certificate, collapsing to the ground in despair, his palms bleeding profusely from broken glass. Su Yanhe, how dare he? How dare he do this? I personally handed her over to him, and this is how he treated her. She was only 25 years old, yet she died with her unborn child. He hated Su Yenhe for being fickle, and hated himself even more for not taking better care of her. During that period, the entire corporation was shrouded in gloom, with executives walking on eggshells, afraid to even breathe too loudly for fear of catching the boss's attention for any mistake. After handling Guyu's funeral, Chi Zian began settling accounts. Su Yenhe was never cut out for business. Were it not for the Chi family backing him, he would have squandered the Gu family's inheritance long ago. It was all too easy for Chi Zian to deal with him. On the day the Su family went bankrupt, Su Yenhe was brought before him like a stray dog by his subordinates. She's dead, and there's no need for you to live either. He fondly toyed with the tassel in his hand, his gaze icy, but death would be too merciful for you. I don't want you going down to find her just yet. For her and the child's 2 lives, I'll take one of your arms and one of your legs as tribute. Su Yenhe shouted at him furiously, give me Guyu's ashes back. You like her, don't you? A mere uncle like you actually fell in love with your own niece. Thankfully she died without knowing, otherwise she'd have been so disgusted she couldn't eat for 3 days. Ha 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 ha. The loud laughter abruptly stopped. Su Yenhe was dragged away, soon. Agonizing screams echoed from the basement. 5. Chi Zian never married in his lifetime. On his deathbed, he ordered his adopted son to bury his ashes together with Guyu's. After death, his soul wandered everywhere. More often than not, he would sit in front of Guyu's grave, rambling about his longing and regrets. One day, a rift suddenly appeared in the sky, as if someone had torn open a gash. A flash of white light emerged from within, sucking Chi Zian inside. When he opened his eyes, he saw a long-haired man dressed in ancient attire. He wondered, had he arrived at the underworld? A long-haired man points at a mirror and speaks to a tall woman beside him. Your daughter is right here. Remember, you must not reveal your true identity to her. The woman nods solemnly. Chi Zian glances curiously at the mirror, only to discover that the daughter they're discussing is none other than Guyu. The lady leaped into the mirror and transformed into a slightly aged woman. Before Chi Zian could figure out what was happening, the long-haired man had already spotted him. How did this one escape? Must quickly stuff it back before the heavenly down notices. Chi Zian immediately tried to flee, but the man effortlessly caught him and threw him into the mirror. Kid, get back here. When he opened his eyes again, Chi Zian was reborn. The young and handsome List was holding a phone, waiting respectfully nearby, clearly anticipating his awakening from the nap. Boss. The young lady's homeroom teacher called to say she hit someone at school. Still in a dazed and confused state, he casually asked, hit who? Su Yenhe. He sobered up instantly, wished he could tear his heart out and give it to him. Given another chance, Chi Zian decided he'd rather die than let the person slip away again. His investigation revealed that the current Guyu was infatuated with Su Yenhe, making it difficult to separate them easily. He had been too neglectful of her before, failing to fulfill his familial responsibilities, and she probably didn't even have much affection left for him. He was plotting how to quietly get rid of Su Yenhe when unexpectedly, Guyu brought up transferring schools first. The opportunity has come. Excited yet anxious, he flew back to the country overnight. To his surprise, he found that Guyu didn't reject him, but her feelings were limited to respect and admiration, so he decided to stay by her side and wait for her to grow up. He could afford to wait for a year. Once she entered university, he would openly pursue her with dignity. Returning to the Gu family home once more, Chi Zian encountered someone entirely unexpected. Aunt Wang. Isn't this exactly how that lady looked after jumping into the mirror and transforming? He had too many questions about reincarnation and Guyu's true identity. He quietly sought out Aunt Wang to get some clear answers. Auntie Wang just rolled her eyes at him. Mind your own business about celestial matters. He awkwardly rubbed his nose. Fine. Whatever his mother-in-law says goes. The end. Story 2. In the late stage of pregnancy, my husband suddenly proposed adopting a child so that we could register them as twins together. I was worried that it was illegal, but my husband said that adopting an orphan was a good deed and would bring good karma. In my previous life, I believed his nonsense. He coaxed me into resigning from my job, and I took great pains to take care of a pair of dragon and phoenix twins for 3 years. However, he then brought his childhood sweetheart into our home, Sister Guagua. Thank you for taking my dragon and phoenix twins to kindergarten, said the childhood sweetheart, holding my husband's hand. As for your daughter, I accidentally let her die while taking care of her. I was shocked. Not only was the son my husband's illegitimate child, but the daughter wasn't mine either. having been reborn, my husband tried the same old trick again. Looking at his affectionate appearance, I smiled slightly and said, "Okay, honey, you're so kind. This time, it's my turn to put on a show. Wife, let's adopt a child." Jinan held my hand, and the tenderness in his eyes seemed to overflow. "Anyway, you're about to give birth. It's just right to make them twins and register them together. We won't have a second child either. I don't want you to suffer." Looking into his affectionate eyes, I almost fell for it again. In my previous life, it was these eyes that made me believe everything he said. I thought he really loved children, was truly kind, and genuinely cared for me. It wasn't until Han Xiaoxi held his hand and came into our home that I realized it was all a fraud. My biological daughter was raised to death by them, and the twins that Han Xiaoxi had through in vitro fertilization suddenly became my dragon and phoenix twins. They took over my home, living in the house my mother left me, and were enjoying a happy life together, while I was left with nothing and eventually committed suicide in despair. Dense pain came from my heart. I suppressed my hatred and put on a gentle smile. "Okay, honey." I nestled into his arms. "You're so kind." He stiffened all over, probably not expecting me to agree so easily. "You know I like children very much, whether it's one or two. I can take care of them. I'd be even happier if we could have triplets," I said naively. Jinan was taken aback for a moment, then hugged me tightly. "Gua, you're so nice." "Nice? Of course I'm nice. If I didn't agree now, how could I see the show you and Han Xiaoxi will put on later? And how could I get back everything you owe me, with interest? Will the adoption procedures be very troublesome? Where will the child come from?" I asked, pretending to be worried. "Don't worry, I've taken care of everything." Jinan patted my back. "A distant relative of mine is about to have a baby but can't afford to raise it. We're helping her. And it's also a good deed that will bring good karma." It's the same old story again. He said the same thing in my previous life. The so-called distant relative was Han Xiaoxi, his childhood sweetheart, and that child wasn't really adopted at all. It was a scheme they had planned long ago to replace the real one with a fake. "Honey, you're so good to me." I looked up, and my eyes turned red at the right moment. "You've gone to so much trouble for our family." Moved by my affection, Jinan lowered his head and kissed my forehead. "Silly girl, we're husband and wife. It's only natural." Looking at his false performance, I felt a wave of nausea in my stomach. In the following days, Jinan became even more attentive. He took care of all the housework, stewed all kinds of tonics for me every day, and even massaged my swollen legs at night. My mother-in-law also changed her usual attitude. She stopped speaking coldly to me and even took the initiative to buy a lot of baby supplies for me. The more they got into their act, the colder my heart became. The better they treated me now, the more ruthless they would be when Han Xiaoxi came to our home with the child. "Gua, Nan told me that you two plan to adopt another child to make them twins." My mother-in-law squatted on the ground, picking vegetables, and said, "That's a good idea. More children mean more blessings." "Mom, it's mainly because Jinan is kind." I stroked my belly and smiled gently. "Yes, our Nan has been kind-hearted since he was a child," my mother-in-law said proudly. Then changed the subject. "However, Gua, raising two children is a heavy burden. Your job, here it comes." In my previous life, it was my mother-in-law's words, combined with Jinan's coaxing and pestering, that made me resign from my job. I used to be a project manager in a foreign company with a good income. After resigning, I became a full-time housewife, losing my source of income and social status. In the end, they easily kicked me out of the house. "Mom, I know what you mean." I interrupted her. "I definitely have to keep my job, otherwise, how can we afford to raise two children? We can't just rely on Jinan alone, can we? He's also very tired." I paused and continued. "I've already decided that I'll go back to work after my maternity leave. As for the children, we can hire a good nanny." My mother-in-law's face changed slightly, seemingly not expecting me to refuse. Jinan gave me a meaningful look, signaling me not to disobey my mother-in-law. I pretended not to see it. Hire a nanny. Outsiders can't be as reliable as family members taking care of the children. My mother-in-law frowned. Besides, hiring a nanny is so expensive. It's better if you... Mom, I interrupted her again, firmly. Money isn't a problem, Jinan, and I earn enough. I'll take care of the children's education and spend time with them myself, but I can't give up my career either. I've always admired you for working in the supermarket until you retired and even being rehired for 2 years. You must understand that I want to have my own career, right? I blocked her words directly and even flattered her. My mother-in-law opened her mouth but didn't say anything in the end. Jinan glanced at me and could only sigh. As the due date was getting closer, Jinan came home less and less often. He was a surgeon and always said that the hospital was busy and there were a lot of surgeries. I knew that he was going to accompany Han Xiaoxi. Calculating the time, Han Xiaoxi was also about to give birth. In my previous life, we gave birth to our children in my husband's hospital. I gave birth to a daughter, and she gave birth to a pair of dragon and phoenix twins, taking advantage of his position. Jinan not only got me a son but also exchanged our daughters at Han Xiaoxi's plea. Then he announced to the outside world that I had given birth to dragon and phoenix twins, and my poor daughter disappeared silently just like that. Just thinking about it made my heart ache as if it were being stabbed by a knife. In this life, I will never let the tragedy happen again. Honey, you've been so busy recently, I asked casually. Is there a shortage of staff in the hospital? Yes, there have been a lot of patients recently, Jinan replied perfunctorily as he changed his shoes. By the way, is your distant relative about to give birth? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl? I continued to test him. Jinan paused in his movements, and his eyes flickered. It's almost time. They said it might be a boy. That's great. You like sons, don't you, honey? I smiled. We'll bring the baby back together then. Okay, Jinan mumbled, not daring to look me in the eyes. I sneered in my heart. Jinan, do you really think I'm still that naive girl from the previous life? One day, I was taking a nap when I was woken up by a rapid doorbell. I opened the door, and there stood a woman dressed in an alluring way. It was Han Xiaoxi. She had a huge belly, as if she was about to give birth at any moment. Sister Guogua, she smiled innocently. Brother Nan said he has to work overtime tonight and can't come back. He asked me to come and check on you. After all, you're almost due. And he's worried about you being home alone. As she spoke, she tried to walk in. I blocked the door and didn't let her in. Don't bother, I'm fine, I said coldly. Your belly is so big, I'm afraid you'll give birth in my house. The smile on Han Xiaoxi's face froze for a moment, then she regained her composure. Sister Guogua, I'm only a little over 8 months pregnant. You're almost full term, right? Besides, Brother Nan and I grew up together since we were children. We're like real siblings. Don't be so polite to me. Real siblings, I thought the same in my previous life. It wasn't until they kicked me out of the house that I knew these real siblings had already slept together. Is that so? I raised my eyebrows. Since you're like real siblings, why have you never called me sister-in-law? Sister Guogua, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Han Xiaoxi quickly adjusted her expression and giggled. Brother Nan is also at fault. He didn't explain it clearly to me. Sister-in-law, don't be angry. As she spoke, she tried to hold my hand. I avoided her touch in disgust. Just say what you have to say. If there's nothing else, please leave. I issued an order to send her away. Han Xiaoxi was rebuffed and felt a bit embarrassed. She bit her lip, and her eyes turned red. Sister-in-law, I know you don't like me, but there's really nothing between me and Brother Nan. We just what? I interrupted her. Just childhood sweethearts, just having a deep sibling-like relationship. Or just accidentally sleeping together and even having a child. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was like a dagger to her heart. Han Xiaoxi's face turned pale instantly, as if she had been slapped hard. She probably never expected that I would know her secret. You're talking nonsense. Her voice trembled, and her eyes were filled with panic. Am I talking nonsense? I sneered. Do you want me to pull out the records of you and Jinan checking into hotels? Or should I take out all your prenatal checkup forms and compare them? I had these pieces of evidence. As soon as I was reborn, I had someone investigate their information. I had been preparing for this day for a long time. Han Xiaoxi was completely panicked. She instinctively took a step back, wanting to run away. How could I let her leave like that? Han Xiaoxi, I took a step forward and approached her. The child in your belly is Jinan's, isn't it? You're talking nonsense. It's my boyfriend's, she shrieked in protest. But her voice lacked confidence. Your boyfriend, I laughed. That's just perfect. I have a paternity test application here. After you sign it, we'll go to the hospital for the test. I took out a document that I had prepared long ago from behind me. Han Xiaoxi looked at the document as if she had seen a terrifying monster. Her face turned deathly pale. You're slandering me. She pointed at me, stuttering and unable to say much. What? Don't you dare sign it, I pressed on. Or are you afraid that you won't be able to explain the results to your boyfriend? Some neighbors had already been attracted by the commotion and were peeking over. Han Xiaoxi was ashamed and scared, and tears welled up in her eyes instantly. Sister-in-law, I was wrong. Please spare me." She started crying and begging. Brother Nan and I were just muddle-headed for a moment. I didn't mean to. Muddle-headed for a moment, I sneered. Han Xiaoxi. Ask yourself with a clear conscience. How long have you been with Ji Nan? It started before I got pregnant, right? You two plotted against me with such careful planning, and now you're telling me it was just a moment of confusion. I raised my voice to make sure that the neighbors around could hear clearly. You even wanted to pin your illegitimate child on me and make me raise it for you. You have such a vicious mind. Han Xiaoxi was thoroughly scolded by me and started crying even louder. The voices of the neighbors talking about it grew louder and louder. She's really shameless. She's having an affair with someone else's husband. She even wants the wife to raise the mistress's child. That's so vicious. She looks so innocent, but I didn't expect her to be this kind of person. Han Xiaoxi completely broke down. She covered her face and squatted on the ground, wailing. Just then, a familiar black car stopped downstairs. Ji Nan was back. When Ji Nan saw the scene in front of him, his face instantly darkened. He walked over quickly and helped Han Xiaoxi up from the ground. Gua, what are you doing? Xiaoxi's belly is so big. What if something happens to her? He questioned me sternly. Every word he said was in defense of Han Xiaoxi, completely ignoring the fact that I was also almost full term with a big belly. I felt cold all over. Ji Nan, you should ask your dear sister what she's done. Xiaoxi was just worried about you and came to check on you. Do you have to treat her like this, worried about me? I laughed as if I had heard the most ridiculous thing. She's worried that I'll block the way for her to register her child, right? Ji Nan's face changed. What are you talking nonsense about? Am I talking nonsense? I held up the document in my hand. Then do you dare to let Han Xiaoxi sign this paternity test application to prove her innocence? Ji Nan looked at the document, and his eyes flickered. Han Xiaoxi hid behind Ji Nan and didn't dare to look at me. Enough, Ji Nan suddenly roared. Gua, stop being unreasonable. Xiaoxi is still pregnant. I'll send her back first. As he spoke, he was about to pull Han Xiaoxi away. Stop, I shouted sternly. Ji Nan, we're getting a divorce. My words were like a bomb, making Ji Nan stop in his tracks. He suddenly turned around and looked at me in disbelief. Gua, are you crazy? I want a divorce. I said each word clearly. I think you're dirty. The neighbors around were in an uproar. Ji Nan's face turned livid, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He probably never expected that I, who had always obeyed him, would propose a divorce. Gua, you're also pregnant. The child in your belly is also of the Ji family. Don't regret it. He gritted his teeth. Regret? I laughed, and tears welled up in my eyes. The thing I regret the most is marrying you. You. Ji Nan raised his hand as if he wanted to hit me. I straightened my back and met his gaze fearlessly. His hand paused in midair for a moment and finally dropped. Perhaps he was concerned about the neighbors around and the child in my belly. Fine, very well. Ji Nan was so angry that he was shaking all over. Gua, we'll see. Let's see if you're willing to. Gua, you're also pregnant. The child in your belly is also of the Ji family. Don't regret it. He gritted his teeth. Regret? I laughed, and tears welled up in my eyes. The thing I regret the most is marrying you. You. Ji Nan raised his hand as if he wanted to hit me. I straightened my back and met his gaze fearlessly. His hand paused in midair for a moment and finally dropped. Perhaps he was concerned about the neighbors around and the child in my belly. Fine, very well. Ji Nan was so angry that he was shaking all over. Gua, we'll see. Let's see if you're willing to let the child in your belly grow up as a fatherless bastard. He gave me a fierce glare, pulled the disheartened Han Xiaoxi, and got into the car in a state. Looking at their fading figures, all the strength in my body seemed to be drained. I leaned against the door frame to barely stand up. I knew that there was still a tough battle to fight next. After Ji Nan and Han Xiaoxi left, I immediately called my mother. My mother is a retired director of obstetrics and gynecology, with extensive connections and rich experience. In my previous life, I was so foolish that I didn't tell her anything, which led to such a tragic ending. This time around, I won't bear everything alone. Mom, Ji Nan cheated. The mistress is Han Xiaoxi, and she's almost due to give birth, I said bluntly. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Gua, don't be afraid, Mom's on your side. My mother said in a steady and firm voice. How are you feeling now? Is the baby in your belly okay? I'm fine, and the baby is doing well too. I took a deep breath. Mom, I'm planning to divorce him. Do it. Such a man isn't worth it, my mother said firmly. The house was bought by me for you. It's prenuptial property, and he won't get a single cent of it. we'll raise the child ourselves, okay. Hearing my mother's support, I felt much more at ease. You're about to give birth. Just focus on resting and taking care of the baby now. Don't worry about anything else, leave the rest to me. After hanging up the phone, I felt a lot more settled. With my mother as my backup, I had more confidence to face the challenges ahead. Sure enough, a few days later, my mother-in-law came to my door. She was no longer the kind-looking mother-in-law she used to be. Her face was filled with meanness and anger. Chingua, you've got some nerve. You actually dared to make this whole thing public. You've embarrassed the G family, she scolded, pointing her finger at me as soon as she entered. What you said doesn't make sense. Isn't it Jinan who should be ashamed? He cheated, kept a mistress, and even wanted me to raise the mistress's child. I calmly retorted, you. My mother-in-law was taken aback and turned green with anger. Nan was just confused for a moment. Which man doesn't make mistakes? Can't you be more magnanimous? Magnanimous? I laughed. Mom, if Dad had some illegitimate children outside, could you be magnanimous? My mother-in-law was left speechless, her face turning red and then white. Besides, I continued, are you sure Jinan was just confused for a moment? Han Xiaoxi's belly is even bigger than mine. He's been confused for quite a long time. Stop spouting nonsense here. My mother-in-law became angry and frustrated. I'm telling you, Chingua, the Ji family won't agree to the divorce. Don't even think about it. Whether we get divorced or not isn't up to you or Jinan, I said calmly. I've already hired a lawyer, and the court will make the decision. How dare you? My mother-in-law shrieked. If you dare to get a divorce, I'll make sure you leave with nothing, and you won't get the child either. Mom, have you forgotten that the house is in my mother's name? As for the child, I stroked my belly, my eyes determined. He or she is mine. And no one can take the baby away from me. My mother-in-law trembled with anger, seeing that I wouldn't be swayed. Fine, Chingua, you just wait. She threatened and slammed the door as she left. I knew she would definitely go to Jinan to discuss countermeasures, but I was well prepared. As my due date approached, I was admitted to a private hospital arranged by my mother. This hospital had strict security and excellent service, most importantly. The doctors and nurses there were either my mother's former colleagues or her students, so I could trust them completely. Jinan and my mother-in-law didn't give up. They tried to come to the hospital several times but were turned away by me, unable to get in touch with me. They could only worry anxiously. One day, my mother came to visit me and brought some news. Han Xiaoxi had a premature birth and gave birth to a pair of dragon and phoenix twins. Oh, I wasn't surprised. Twins have a relatively high probability of being born prematurely, and besides, she was emotionally stimulated when she came to my house and caused a scene last time. Jinan and his mother have been trying to pull strings everywhere, trying to register the children under Jinan's name. My mother continued, but I've already put in a word, and they won't succeed so easily. Mom, thank you, I said sincerely. Silly child, don't be so polite with me. My mother held my hand. Don't worry. Mom won't let you be wronged. A few days later, I successfully gave birth to a daughter. Looking at the tiny, wrinkled baby in my arms, my heart melted. This was my daughter, the precious child I had regained. I named her Anin, hoping that she would have a peaceful and happy life. During the confinement period, my mother took extremely good care of me. Anin was also very well behaved, sleeping and eating most of the time, and rarely crying. I was immersed in the joy of becoming a mother and temporarily forgot about all the troubles. However, Jinan and my mother-in-law didn't give up. Since they couldn't get to me, they turned their attention to my parents. My mother-in-law went to my parents' house several times, creating a scene, saying that I was unfilial and wouldn't let her see her granddaughter. Jinan also pretended to be repentant, calling my father, saying that he knew he was wrong and begging for my forgiveness and a chance. My parents were firm in their attitude and directly turned them away. Guagua, don't be soft-hearted, my mother reminded me on the phone. For a man like this, there are only two options, either he cheats 0 times or 100 times. Mom, I know, how could I be soft-hearted? I couldn't forget the pain of my previous life, not even for a single day and night. After the confinement period, I began to deal with the divorce proceedings. My lawyer told me that since Jinan had an affair during the marriage and had illegitimate children, I had sufficient evidence to prove that he was at fault, which was very favorable for the divorce lawsuit. In terms of property division, the house was my prenuptial property and had nothing to do with Jinan. The postmarital property mainly consisted of Jinan's salary and some savings, and I could ask for a larger share. As for the custody of the child, There was almost no doubt about it, everything seemed to be going in a good direction. But just before the court session, Han Xiaoxi showed up again. Han Xiaoxi, holding her dragon and phoenix twins, came to my parents' house. She knelt at the door, crying pitifully, claiming that she had been deceived by Jinan and begging my parents to take her and the children in. Uncle and aunt, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have broken up Sister Guogua's family, she sobbed. Jinan said I ruined his reputation and made him lose face in front of neighbors and colleagues, and he refuses to acknowledge us as his family. Please have mercy and give me and the children a way to survive. My parents are kind-hearted people, although they despised Han Xiaoxi. When they saw the two babies who needed care, they felt a bit of pity. Get up first. Let's talk properly. My father frowned. I won't get up. Han Xiaoxi cried even louder. If you don't agree, I'll kneel here until I die. Her act of being unreasonable was just like my mother-in-law's. Neighbors came out to watch the commotion and pointed at Han Xiaoxi. My parents were annoyed by her and, concerned about the neighbors' opinions, temporarily let her in. As soon as I heard the news, I rushed back. When I entered the door, I saw Han Xiaoxi sitting on the sofa, holding the children and wiping her tears, while my mother sighed beside her. Han Xiaoxi, what tricks are you playing this time? I looked at her coldly. Sister Guogua. Han Xiaoxi stood up immediately when she saw me, with a flattering smile on her face. I'm really at the end of my rope. Isn't he your brother Nan? Didn't he abandon his wife and child for you? I interrupted her unceremoniously. Han Xiaoxi's face turned pale, and tears streamed down her face again. This matter has gone viral online, and even Jinan's grandfather knows about the children. They all think I'm a disgrace and kicked us out, not even giving us any living expenses. As she spoke, she secretly observed my reaction. I sneered inwardly. A selfish man like Jinan would never truly give up everything for Han Xiaoxi. At first, he coaxed Han Xiaoxi because he knew she was carrying dragon and phoenix twins and wanted to use her to have a son. Now that the plan had failed, Han Xiaoxi had become a burden. And of course, he wanted to stay away from her. So, you came to my house to play the victim. I walked up to her. Do you think we'll pity you and take in your children? Sister Guogua, for the sake of the children, Jinan is your husband, and these are the Ji family's flesh and blood after all. Han Xiaoxi tried to appeal to my emotions. Children, I looked at the two babies in her arms. Han Xiaoxi, are you crazy? Don't you know I'm divorcing him? If it weren't for you and Jinan, my daughter wouldn't have been born without a father's love. Why should your children have what my daughter doesn't? Han Xiaoxi was intimidated by my imposing manner and shrank back, holding the children tightly. Mom, Dad, I turned to my parents. Tell her to get out. We don't welcome people like her in our house. My mother nodded and stood up. Miss Han, please leave. My father also said with a stern face, we can't help you. Seeing that my parents were determined, Han Xiaoxi knew her act of playing the victim wouldn't work. The pitiful look on her face disappeared instantly, replaced by a hint of venom. Qingguo, don't be too proud. She gritted her teeth. Even if I have a hard time, you won't have it easy either. Jinan won't let you off so easily. Is that so? I shrugged indifferently. Then we'll see each other in court. The court date arrived quickly. Jinan and my mother-in-law both appeared in court. Jinan looked much more haggard, with red blood streak in his eyes. Probably because he had been overwhelmed by Han Xiaoxi and her two children recently. My mother-in-law glared at me angrily, as if I were a heinous criminal. In court, my lawyer submitted all the evidence of Jinan's affair during the marriage and the fact that he had illegitimate children with Han Xiaoxi. The evidence was conclusive, and Jinan had no way to deny it. He tried to defend himself, saying that he was confused for a moment and was seduced by Han Xiaoxi. He also said that he was willing to leave the marriage with nothing but begged me not to divorce him and give him a chance to reform. His performance was full of tears, but I wasn't moved. Your Honor, I don't agree, I said firmly. Jinan had an affair during the marriage and had children with a mistress, which has seriously hurt my feelings and destroyed my family. I firmly request a divorce. My mother-in-law, hearing my words in the gallery, stood up excitedly and pointed at me, shouting, Qingguo, you heartless woman, our Nan has admitted his mistake. What more do you want? Which man doesn't make mistakes? Why can't you tolerate a man who has made a mistake? The judge banged the gavel. Order, gallery attendees, please remain quiet, otherwise, you will be asked to leave. My mother-in-law sat down reluctantly. Seeing that pleading was useless, Jinan started to fight for property and custody. He demanded a share of the post-marital property and joint custody of our daughter. "And the house is prenuptial property and has nothing to do with you," my lawyer refuted clearly. "Regarding the postmarital property, considering that the defendant is at fault, we request a larger share. As for custody, since the child is still breastfeeding, according to the law, the mother should have custody. The defendant's improper behavior, such as having an affair during the marriage, is not conducive to the child's growth. We firmly demand sole custody of the child." Jinan's lawyer tried to refute but couldn't produce strong evidence. Finally, the judge pronounced the verdict in court. The divorce was granted, the house was awarded to me, I got 70% of the postmarital property, I was granted custody of Anan, and Jinan was ordered to pay child support every month and was given the right to visit. Hearing the verdict, Jinan turned pale and slumped in his chair. My mother-in-law rushed towards me like a madwoman, trying to hit me. "You bitch, Jinx, you've ruined the Ji family's reputation, you've destroyed our family." The bailiff stopped her in time. I looked at them coldly, feeling no emotion. After the divorce, I started a new life with Anan. I went to work during the day and took care of the baby at night. It was hard work, but I felt fulfilled. Jinan would occasionally come to see Anan. Every time, he tried to get on good terms with me and said things to show his regret. Once, he even knelt in front of me, crying and saying that he had been deceived, and the paternity test showed that the dragon and phoenix twins weren't his at all. Han Xiaoxi had gotten pregnant accidentally from a casual hookup. He said that Anan was his only daughter, and he would give her the best in the future. I ignored him completely. I felt disgusted even looking at a man like him. My mother-in-law was quiet for a while, probably because she was devastated by the court's decision. Before long, the peaceful days were disrupted. Han Xiaoxi showed up again. This time, she wasn't here to play the victim but to show off. She was dressed up beautifully and drove a brand new sports car, parking it downstairs of my house. "Sister Guagua, long time no see." She took off her sunglasses and smiled triumphantly. I frowned. "What do you want?" "Nothing much. I was just passing by and thought I'd see how you're doing." She looked me up and down. "Oh, you're still working. How tiring." "I'm doing fine, don't bother." I didn't want to waste time talking to her. "Really?" Han Xiaoxi laughed. "I recently met a boss. Would you like me to introduce you to him someday? His company happens to be looking for a cleaning lady." She deliberately showed off the diamond watch on her wrist. "Oh," I said expressionlessly. "Sister Guagua, do you think Jinan was blind? Back then, he chose an old shrew like you over a beautiful woman like me." She leaned in and said in a low voice, her tone full of provocation, looking at her heavily made-up face. I suddenly found it ridiculous. "Han Xiaoxi, have you forgotten who was crying and begging to be taken in at my door like a stray dog?" Han Xiaoxi's face changed instantly. "Now that you've found a new backer, you've forgotten how embarrassed you were." I continued to mock. "But you'd better hold on to this new guy tightly, so you don't end up getting dumped like last time when he gets tired of you." "Stop spouting nonsense." Han Xiaoxi became angry. "My Mr. Wang said he wants to marry me. I'll be Mrs. Wang soon." "Is that so?" I raised an eyebrow. "Does he know you have 2 children with someone else?" Han Xiaoxi's face turned even paler. "So what if he does or doesn't? I'm just reminding you," I said calmly. "Things obtained by relying on men won't last forever." After that, I ignored her and turned to enter the apartment building. Behind me, Han Xiaoxi's angry curses could be heard, but I didn't look back. Such a clown wasn't worth my time. 11 I thought Han Xiaoxi would be quiet for a while after being rebuked by me, but unexpectedly, she became even more excessive. She started spreading rumors about me online, saying that I had an affair during the marriage, abused my mother-in-law, and that Anan wasn't Jinan's child. The stories she fabricated were very detailed and convincing, and she even hired online trolls to stir up the situation. For a while, there were a lot of curses towards me on the internet. Some people who didn't know the truth even went downstairs to my company and hung up banners, asking me to get out of the company. My boss talked to me, although he didn't say it directly. The meaning was clear. He hoped that I could handle this matter as soon as possible and not let it affect the company. I wasn't flustered, since Han Xiaoxi was unkind. Don't blame me for being unrighteous. I directly asked someone to investigate the new boss that Han Xiaoxi had latched onto. That boss was surnamed Wang and was the CEO of a listed company. He was more than 30 years older than Han Xiaoxi, and his youngest son was even 10 years older than her. Han Xiaoxi was just one of his many mistresses. I directly sent the information about Han Xiaoxi to Mr. Wang's wife anonymously. Mr. Wang's wife was a tough character, and her family background was very powerful. She immediately led a group of people to the apartment where Han Xiaoxi lived. It was said that the scene was quite spectacular. Han Xiaoxi was beaten black and blue, covered in injuries, and even had her nude photos taken. In order to calm his wife's anger, Mr. Wang not only cut off his relationship with Han Xiaoxi but also took back the car and the house he had bought for her. Overnight, Han Xiaoxi was sent back to her original state. Not only did she lose her backer, but also because she had spread rumors and slandered me online before, she was sued by me and had to compensate me a large sum of money for mental damages. Now, she was truly at the end of her rope. Her 2 children couldn't go to school because they didn't have household registration. So they had to be sent back to their hometown for her parents to take care of, and she herself, because of her bad reputation, couldn't find a job and could only muddle along in some seedy places. It could be said that she reaped what she sowed. After dealing with Han Xiaoxi, only Jinan and my mother-in-law were left. After the divorce, Jinan's life wasn't easy either. The incident of his affair and keeping a mistress became well known, and his reputation in the hospital plummeted. His colleagues ostracized him both openly and secretly, and the leaders no longer valued him. He used to be a rising star in the surgery department, but now he could only do some peripheral work, in addition to having to pay Anan's child support every month and dealing with Han Xiaoxi's occasional harassment. Jinan was under a lot of economic and mental pressure. He tried to remarry me several times, but I firmly refused him, since the last scene my mother-in-law made in court. She had been much quieter, but her hatred for me hadn't lessened at all. She blamed all the misfortunes on me, believing that it was my appearance that ruined her son's future. One day, my mother suddenly called me, her tone anxious. "Guagua, come back quickly, your mother-in-law has come to our house with some people to cause trouble." He stiffened all over, probably not expecting me to agree so easily. This sentence, "he stiffened all over," probably not expecting me to agree so easily, seems out of place here and might be a mistake in the original text. I'll translate it as it is for now. When I rushed home, the house was already in a mess. My mother-in-law brought several fierce-looking men and smashed the things in my house to pieces. My mother protected Anan and hid in the corner, looking pale with fear. "Chenghua, you're a jinx, pay for my son's future." When my mother-in-law saw me, she pounced on me like a madwoman. I was prepared and dodged to the side. Those men also surrounded me. "What do you want to do?" I shouted sternly. "Breaking into a private house, destroying property, and you even want to hit people." "I've already called the police." Hearing that the police had been called, those men hesitated, but my mother-in-law didn't care. Hit her for me, beat this bitch to death." Just then, the sound of police sirens came from outside. The police arrived in time and controlled the situation. My mother-in-law and those men were all taken to the police station. Because the circumstances were serious, my mother-in-law was detained for 15 days. After she was released, her health deteriorated rapidly, and she couldn't live without the hospital all year round. This incident caused a great stir in the city again. Jinan couldn't stay in the hospital any longer. He left his job in disgrace and left the city where I lived forever. The main culprits who killed me and my daughter in the previous life had all received their due punishments. Looking at Anan, who was sleeping soundly in my arms, I showed a long-lost smile. In this life, I protected my daughter, my home, and my own life. Anan is still young, and the road ahead is very long, very long.